All right, guys. I'm sorry that I insulted the last guest. Fair enough, but just telling me that there's no difference in repeating yourself and then just continuing to say it, I just don't have the patience. But if you want to have a genuine conversation, I'll have a back and forth. I don't mind a challenge. All right. Zerp shot, come back up. Hey, Ozark. I'll pull you up too.
Oh, hold on. Let me turn my phone up. Okay, can you hear me?
Oh,
Hey,
yeah,
just
I
really
got you.
quickly, I'm not going to stay long. I just wanted to let you know that that was somebody trolling you. That wasn't actually an account warning.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep.
Good to know.
So,
Thank you.
yep.
I didn't get a warning either. I thought it was Lydia warning me, so. All right, cool. Thank you. I appreciate you, Ozark. All right, Zerp shot.
Yes.
Take it away.
So, like I was saying, it's not right, and I don't agree with it about how they do to animals. I'm a big animal person. And there is no difference, like you were saying, like because anything can be a pet. A pig. I know, like hell. My friend, I used to have a friend that lived out in Texas who had a farm, and he had a lot of animals and stuff like that. But he had a pet pig and a pet goat, and
Yeah.
anything can be a pet. And so I disagree with what that one guy said. But
Yeah.
um,
It can
honestly,
it's because a lot of the times it can be uncomfortable to recognize that we have this kind of a cognitive dissonance. You
yeah,
know, we have such a almost like visceral response to the idea of someone doing harm to a dog. And to see
right,
even a dog, whimpering, most people have some kind of empathy towards them. But pigs were told, that they do deserve to be outside, that they don't have expression, when really they have deep emotions as well. They're actually
right,
more intelligent than dogs.
right. Yeah, I know that too. Yeah, the animals,
Yeah.
they're very smart people. Well, not people. They're very smart
Well,
creatures.
I mean, I would argue people, although I know literally the definitions are centered around humans, but there was a time when there were definitions that called only white men people, so I feel like definitions can change.
Yeah, true that. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they're very intelligent creatures. I mean, every creature is an intelligent creature, and it's just, when when it's normalized, since like the Stone Age, when it's like normalized, like anything can be a food and anything can be a pet, and like even like you were talking about people too, like even people, but I think it's more commonly
Mhm.
known nowadays, like that, you know, it's more commonly known that people just eat animals since, like I said, like the Stone Age, and it's just commonly known, and that's why I don't think many people see it as wrong. Like, so I'm at a point like I eat, like I said, I eat meat and everything like that, and but I do, if I were to be there and watch how like them, like I couldn't do that, it would be upsetting, but it's
Mhm.
just how I feel like it's how we have to survive. That's just what I grown up believing. It's just what we need to survive and what keeps our bone structures and everything and keeps us healthy. And but like you said, I agree. Anything can be a pet. Anything, everything has a sense of mind and has intelligence.
So I guess I'll ask you, are you going to leave here continuing to eat, at least pigs? Are you going to continue to eat them knowing that they're smarter than dogs?
Well, I've always known that, and I
Okay,
mean
so
I
like to you, I guess, and I'm not trying to be argumentative. So this is my genuine line of questioning. It's just
okay.
what to you makes it okay to demand, because you know what supply and demand is, correct?
Oh yes, ma'am.
So when, so yeah, when you make that purchase, what then in your mind justifies it to make a demand for another animal to go through that scary situation when you know that they are very intelligent and mostly aware of what's going on?
Right. So that's another thing too, is like, so purchasing meat, like I don't, like I said, I feel like every life should be valued, and every life is valuable, and that's like, but when you're, like I said, when you're, it's like kind of just normalized, and and you're just so used to
Yeah.
doing that, and it's in supermarkets
So
and stuff like that, it's just like,
do you think that animals are exploited? Do you
explain your
think that it's
definition.
fair? Do you think it's fair what we do to animals for food in any setting?
No, I do
Okay.
not.
Okay, so if you do think that it's wrong, what do you think you can do as an individual to not demand it or participate in it? Like, what can you do to stop the abuse that those animals go through, or at least slow it down?
I'd probably say, to, I guess the only thing that you really can do as, a normal bystander person is just not, purchase, the meats and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
I, but
exactly.
I've just grown
So
up
I have a
eating it.
couple of things for you.
Yes.
Just because I understand that it's I grew up eating it too. It's very dominant in almost all cultures.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of plant-based diets are more from poorer nations, like more Eastern or not really Western bases. They come from other nations that rely on like beans and rice as their main staples.
Yeah.
And hold on, I'm gonna pull up Lydia for a second. I saw her pop up.
I did want to interject real quick. You keep getting suspension warnings. I think it might be the word usage in the background or something, because it popped up again.
Maybe it's probably the gas chambers then.
Yeah, so I would change out, maybe do emoji or something like that. So it's annoying.
All right, I appreciate you, Lydia.
It's just a troll, I think.
I haven't seen it. Nothing's given me a warning. Is it just like a little note to you?
It like keeps popping up suspension warning and then like deletes the chat and saying suspension warning in 2 minutes and the live or something like that. So I'll see if it does it again, but
Okay, I do see this person called My Toss where it says account suspension in 2 minutes.
It's some user named Matas who's spamming the chat, and I was trying to ask you to mute him because if you notice the warning, it's the user, and then it's just a bunch of space in between with a message at the bottom. Yeah, so he's trolling the chat.
Okay.
It's not an actual warning.
I'll go ahead and block him then.
Yep. Sweet.
I appreciate you, Lydia. Thank you. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Oh.
All right, Zerp Shot. So basically, I was asking you, like for you, what is it that's going to stop you from, supporting, since we, talked about the best way to not put those animals in situations is to abstain from buying like their flesh, also the secretions, because all the animals that are used for milk and eggs also still go to the slaughterhouse. And there's an argument about use. I'm going to ask you, do you think that animals are sentient? Do you think there's a subject in their body having an experience of the world and making preferences?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would recommend looking into it. They have been found to be sentient. There's a couple. There's like the Cambridge Declaration of Consciousness. I think even the New York Declaration of Consciousness even includes like octopi and lobsters and such. So because they're having a subjective experience and making preferences, then, and it's unnecessary for us to consume, their flesh or their secretions, using them in any capacity where they don't get to be free and do what they want is pointless, enslavement. And we're causing them suffering for no reason. So, knowing that, does that change your perspective on animal products?
I'm agreeing with what you're saying, and I have nothing against veganism, it's just, and I don't have anything against eating meat, but it's like, so I grew up eating it, and it's just like to this day, and it's like, it makes your body feel programmed to feel like that's what you need, and like, I wouldn't have no problem going vegan, but it's just now that my body's so used to it, I don't think I could be.
Oh, you could. But I understand the kind of overwhelming feeling of like your habits, right? Because you have a habit of buying certain things. You've developed certain taste preferences. Right. I have resources on how to eat healthy. Also, have you ever used ChatGPT?
Yes.
So you can just ask it to make meals that are similar to what you already make. Like, I want a meal that tastes like this meal, and you can put in your recipe, and it'll give you an alternative recipe that's vegan. But all you have to do is ask it. Or you can type in your favorite recipes on Google and put vegan next to it, and more than likely someone's already made it in a vegan version. And then there's Cronometer. Cronometer is just helpful if you want to know about your nutrition and making sure you get everything. Same thing with Challenge 22 and Nutrition Facts. Those are about health. Most people don't know how to be healthy though. So if you're concerned about like your protein, as long as you get enough calories in a day, you'll get plenty of protein. But these are tools that can help you if you wanted to track those things. If you want, you can take like a screenshot. But again, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed either. Honestly, the ChatGPT is simple enough. You can just type in your recipes and it can make an alternative. But I think what really needs to happen is, for me, I didn't really care about any of this stuff because I wasn't really like a health nut when I was that much younger. So for me, it was the why, and that is, what the animals go through, and just the idea of robbing someone's freedom in general. I don't want to be a part of that, and that's my principle already, even before I went vegan. And to understand that animals are maybe not to some certain intelligence level to us, or they don't look like us, that doesn't mean that they don't feel and they don't deserve to not be exploited. So I feel like the Dominion gives you the why, kind of cracks your mind into what the animals have to go through in order to become your resources.
Yeah, and it's like I've thought about it before when I was younger too, and it's like I said, my body's so used to it. It's kind of like if you smoke, like I know you smoke because of your username, obviously, but like, so I smoke cigarettes, and it's like quitting cigarettes and having to go to something else like chewing tobacco.
Yeah, but
like
wouldn't it be
like
easier? I understand there is still gonna be that feeling of need. I get that. But wouldn't it be easier to quit cigarettes if you found out that someone had to be harmed or unalived for you to have those cigarettes? Like someone had to suffer, like it had to, like it was a crucial ingredient. That would make you more eager to stop, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So for animal products, it's the same thing. Most people, they don't really see the process. They're not really aware. Even the most humane places, still, it's just atrocious. I would never want to be in that setting myself. They make the pigs sound so happy, but, in how is it ever morally justified to take someone's life, especially when they're enjoying it,
Right. Yeah, I get that. I was more just kind of making a perspective of how it is to me. After this, me talking to you, I may go to
Look
veganism.
into it. Definitely watch Dominion. It's a great place to start, just because it'll show you what they have to go through. And like I said, the most humane, green pastures, grass fed, no cages. You get to see what those words mean.
Okay.
I think that's important because everyone else has a misunderstanding of what they are. We're painted these images of happy animals, and that's just not the case. But you need to see it to believe it, and this is just a starting point. You should definitely still look at other references. Try to find the most humane versions of this, and does that still set well with you? Watching them lose their lives, because that's the trail I went on. As I saw the worst of the worst, which isn't Dominion. But I saw the worst of the worst, and then I saw other documentaries, and I saw ones that focused on, like, there's one called Cow, where they follow a dairy cow in what I would call the most humane farm I have ever seen. Still broke my heart because she still had to lose her life. As soon as they, don't produce enough profit, they're a cost to the farmer. So their lives are just arbitrarily taken at the convenience of someone else.
And I would like to say that probably the biggest weakness of these animal ag industries is they don't want you to recognize there's an individual. That's why they number them, like they call them it, they don't call them someone. Like our whole society is set up to basically cognitively kind of condition us to just accept there isn't a victim when there obviously very much is.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
That's a good statement. That's a good point, But it's also too another point. So like, when it's already done, and everything, like I still don't agree with it, and taking an animal's life, and
well, we talked about supply and demand though. So when you consume something, it'll be replaced.
Right. And so it's like when I'm at a point to like where you're shopping and it's already in the stores and it's kind of like it's already done, and there's nothing that you can
Well,
really
so
do to
again,
change about it.
that's supply and demand. So I understand that you see already a dead animal on the shelf. I understand that. But as soon as you pay for it, you take it out of that store, you've now placed a demand for that product. And more often than not, they're going to be like, we got to put another one out there so that you come back to buy that product. So they put another animal through that system because of your demand. So I understand that in the store, in that moment, it feels like you're not the one doing it, but you are perpetuating it. So it doesn't matter how little it is you pay for it, you still paid for it. You still put that demand in for it.
Right.
You're still telling them, I will buy more of this, put more in there. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep taking someone's life so that I may dine on their flesh.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Man.
Whereas if you were to buy the plant-based products, the beans, the meat replacements if you want, or, I prefer, like you said, the beans, the tempeh, and the tofu. But that also does sometimes take some time to try. Some people don't like those things. So the mock meats. There's definitely alternatives if you're in a grocery store.
Okay. Yeah, I might, like I said, I've been looking into it too, and it's funny that you pop up because I've been looking into it too, and
that's good.
It's just so commonly regulated, but really thinking about the animals, it's
right.
They still got.
Like I said, if you watch Dominion, it'll change your mind. And then nutritionfacts.org has this thing called the Dailey Dozen, and if you want to just make sure that you're getting everything you need, it's just a checklist. It is based on whole foods like, beans, vegetables, fruits. But, it gives you measurements so, you can at least have an idea of what you need in a day so that you feel satiated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, it was nice talking to you today.
Yeah, it's great. Make sure, if you didn't already, make sure you get a screenshot just so you have access to those resources. You can look them up later. But I really do appreciate you coming up.
Okay. You have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Thanks. Bye. Okay, so far I think we're okay. I haven't gotten any other warning messages.
Yeah, no, that was a troll format. I've never seen it before, but now I know what it is. Me either.
Yeah, I saw it later. I was like, oh, it does say it right there. All right. I did not snapshot my brain who was already up here. I'll go from the bottom. Just random. Gotta be over 18. Hey, how old are you?
25.
You say 25?
Yes.
Cool. So what morally justifies putting one in a gas chamber and not the other?
It's really not morally. It's more like culturally and the need of sustainability to feed a country. For example, pigs are, in America at least, pigs are used to feed a lot of people. But if you go to somewhere else where pigs are more sacred or aren't as widespread, say Korea, Vietnam, they will use dogs as the main source of food, which is okay over there because it's being used to feed a population. But like, if we're just talking about the morality of it, killing animals is bad, but it's a necessity because if we all went vegan, we would still kill animals to protect the crops. You understand that?
If I had evidence to the contrary, would that change your mind? Would you consider going vegan?
Which fact?
So I have a study here. Oh, I'm in the wrong spot. Hold on. I think I always twist up the name. The Long Shadow of Livestock. Livestock's Long Shadow: Environmental Issues and Options. And they actually discovered that we would reduce our land use by 75% if we started to all adopt a plant-based diet. We could feed more people using 25% of our current ag land.
Well, I never said that.
Oh, so my point is, you were saying that we use animals to feed people, and I'm telling you that we would actually be more efficient at feeding people if we took away animal ag, because animals are actually very inefficient. We feed them plants, so we have to grow more plants for them. 83% of our agricultural land right now is dedicated to raising animals for their flesh and secretions and their food. 83%. That's a lot.
Yes,
we could eat the plants directly.
To say that the world should go vegan would be very culturally insensitive, as there are
Well, it's not
cultures
going to
that
happen
thrive on
overnight, but
pork.
it can happen with demand
And
as
even in
people become more
America,
aware.
even if
Oh, it can happen
America went
in.
vegan, we would still have pork farms. We are the largest exporters of pork to
Well,
places
that's
where
great
pork
that you
is a
think that.
delicacy in
That's
Japan.
great that you think that. That's great that you think that. But as people start to understand, most people are not psychotic. Most people don't want to cause unnecessary harm to animals. So I just think that most people aren't aware of what they're demanding and that it's completely unnecessary. To take someone's life for taste pleasure, in my opinion, is immoral, just like it is to use someone who cannot consent. And if you agree with me, but you're not vegan, you're being a hypocrite.
No, because even vegan diets require the
No?
exploitation of animals and insects. For example, avocados require a lot of
All
almost
right, Pierce
curses of
Morgan.
a lot of bees. It's a
Yeah.
fact. I looked it up myself.
Okay, the bees are from the honey industry. The honey industry rents them out. And if you are so worried about avocados, don't eat avocados. A lot of vegans don't eat avocados. In fact, most of the avocado demand is from omnivore people.
So yeah, I agree with that.
And
Everyone
in
eats
addition,
avocados.
vegans don't pay for insects to be bred, to be exploited. Exploited means to be used unfairly. So they're not taking these bugs and forcing them into the fucking avocados. That's just silly. They're just doing their natural things.
The thing is, thinking that the world will just completely go vegan is
again, you're
delusional. It will
strawmanning me.
not happen.
I never said the world would go vegan overnight. All I'm here doing is talk. Go ahead, Lydia. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's delusional to also say that, women would actually be respected all over the world and that we'd end like child marriages all over the world. It is delusional, but that's an appeal to futility. Just because it's not completely possible to do 100% doesn't mean we should at least try.
But what effect would it bring? So if we just stopped eating pigs will still be bred at the same rate, just for exportation
Why
reasons.
Why would they do that?
Exportation.
No, you're making that up. You're making that up.
We are literally the largest exporters in the world.
No. You're making it up. So if the demand for something goes down, the farmer or the producer will reduce their supply. Why would they keep producing things that no one's going to purchase? That'd be a waste of their capital.
The thing is, people will purchase it. That's the problem.
See, you're not listening to the conversation. You're talking about a world where we're transitioning into a vegan world. So that means that there's less and less demand. There's going to be fewer and fewer animals bred into existence. So there would be a transition, yes. There would still be animals still being unalive, but there'd be fewer bred into existence there's no suffering in non-existence.
Well, yeah, but
so if we don't breed them into existence, then there's not a problem of asking the morality of using them because they just don't exist.
And what about subsidies for farmers?
What about them?
Even if they bred these, they're still getting paid.
If it's a vegan world, why would we be dominating our tax dollars to going back to animal agriculture when clearly the demand for it is dropping?
Because there's still
the money would be going towards plant-based things. Why don't we use the subsidies for plant agriculture? Make plants even cheaper, or even free. Even you just go into the store and you get your weekly, monthly beans because they're just so cheap.
Well, yes. So, like, to start off, I rarely eat pork myself. I'm just talking about the morality standpoint of it.
Right. Like, they're a subject having an experience. What justifies taking that away for your taste pleasure?
Because humans can survive off of meat. They can survive off of.
We just went through this.
Vegans too. Yeah,
we just went through this.
Vegans.
So it doesn't matter.
Can survive off of a vegan diet.
It doesn't matter that we can survive off of animals. The fact that we can survive off of plants is all that matters. Since we don't need to do it, we're doing it purely for taste pleasure, and that's unnecessary and unjust. You're taking someone's subjective experience for arbitrary reasons.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the world is cruel. That's the clothes you wear as well. It's also putting humans into bad situations.
You are in charge of your own actions. What can you do? If you don't like how something is being done, what can you do? You can abstain from it. You cannot demand it to happen.
So are you abstaining from wearing clothing?
Are you going to go into something about like shirts sometimes are made in places where humans are exploited?
That's exactly what happens.
See how common that argument is that I already knew what you were going to? Okay, shirts do not require someone to be exploited. You can make a shirt and someone not be exploited. Animal flesh and secretions 100% come from exploitation. There is no ifs or maybes. It absolutely happened. So if you ask me, buying clothes is justifiable because you don't actually know if someone was enslaved, whereas buying animal products is, morally apprehensible. I didn't use the right word there. Is not okay because someone had to be exploited for that. Do you see the difference? Maybe exploited, definitely exploited.
Well, the thing is, with the labor costs in America, most of these businesses, the clothing you wear, are going to cheaper countries where these people are
Again, see, you're
exploited for the
going into
simple
this.
fact that it's labor.
You're going into this maybe area.
It's not
I
a
do
maybe,
agree
it's a
that
fact.
it's not a fact. It's
I
a
would
maybe.
like to say though that the fast fashion industry is horrendous, but currently we could stop all new production of clothes and still have so much clothes to wear like all the time. So what a lot of people do to kind of like go around this industry is like I have been wearing the same clothes for like 13 plus years. Most of those I have bought from like secondhand stores where people have already retired clothes. Like we have so much clothes we don't need to be making anymore. So yes, the fast fashion industry is unethical in the way they do things, but her point is that when we use animal products, we have to replenish a lot more consistently compared to like clothes. And there's always a victim involved because we're directly using their bodies.
Right.
Yes, but one, as I said, light always has darkness. So even if we all went vegan, there's still issues with it. It's like it's not gonna
like. Go ahead, Lydia.
I mean, there's issues to existing, period, but our solution isn't unalive yourself and take yourself out. It's doing the least amount of harm as much as you possibly can in your life, because that's your responsibility.
And do you have any study that shows that, like, well, we have theories, but an actual, like, what's the word? Yeah, I can't think of it. But veganism will require farmland, which is less than the animal farmland, right? But it will require more soil. It will require more tractor work. It will, like, soil degradation will happen. Less deforestation, which is good as well. As I said, there's positives and negatives to it, but
yeah,
the
but
simple
your
fact
negatives
is,
are fake so far.
soil degradation.
It wouldn't require more soil.
It would require more
less
soil work.
We have to grow plants. We have to grow plants to feed the animals. Take something I don't know if I'm getting this. I need someone to double check this conversion, but I'm pretty sure it's like 12 grams of feed to make 1 gram of edible flesh from a cow. So instead of wasting the 12 grams on an animal, why don't we eat the food? Go directly to us. It's a direct link to the nutrition instead of filtering it through someone else's body who ended up burning most of it off. We only get like 10% of what we put into them.
Okay.
So animals are inefficient, but my argument is that there's a moral reason to not take someone's life, just like it's immoral to enslave someone. There are benefits to enslaving people. Reduces the cost of products, makes finding labor a lot easier and cheaper, right? It makes goods be more accessible to people that are maybe considered a minority and need more access to things. But slave labor is still immoral.
Yeah, so from what I understand, the pig euthanization with the gas chambers comes from carbon dioxide, correct?
It's how they stun them. Some of them do die in there, but that's not how they're intended to be unalived.
Okay, so there's no pain involved. It's just a mass execution.
So there's a movie called Pignorant that came out a little while ago, and you can look that up. They show you what the pigs go through in a gas chamber. It does not look like they are lulled to sleep.
And the reason why they use the gas chambers, or sometimes they still use like electrocution basically to stun them, is because their skulls are so thick they can't do bolt guns very efficiently and properly. So that's why they go to the gas chambers and electrocution routes. It's really horrendous.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, as I said, what I said, my first sentence was it's morally wrong, but it's a necessity as of now. In the future, it could change, but I do not see that happening anytime soon.
It's not a
I don't
necessity
see it
right now.
It is like as of right now.
Do you
even
shop at a grocery store?
Everyone decided today to become a vegan. We would not be able to do that. So as I said, it's not sustainable today.
How do you know that?
We would still have to transition. We would still have to transition.
I think that you're just making up things that scare you into making change, or to not making change. You're just scaring yourself out of it. You not participating in animal agriculture, you not buying those products and demanding another animal go through that, is not going to dismantle the whole world. It's not going to collapse around you. But it will decrease how many animals have to go through that system. It'll tell people that are producing plant-based products to produce more, and people that are producing animal stuff to produce less. So you're still making a difference, but you're also going to be living by your principles. If you agree that taking someone's life when it's unnecessary is immoral, but you still demand animal products, then you're living hypocritically. To live vegan is to live in alignment with your own principles.
Yeah, I like that. I don't eat pork much, really, so I can't speak on
animal.
that. But
it doesn't matter,
general,
just pigs.
Meat in general,
yeah.
I just prefer the taste. That's the main thing.
Sure, but your taste pleasure can change. And again, is taste pleasure worth someone's entire existence? Like they're enjoying their life, or even if they're not, but they're still wanting to keep living. You know, it's not your place to cross their bodily autonomy for your taste pleasure.
But then you open another can of worms of, as I said, culture and religion, where people feel that the animals were brought into the world for them to eat.
It doesn't matter. Your religion and your culture still do not justify exploiting someone. It was once American culture to enslave people. Still not moral.
So
it was also culture to mistreat women, right? To not consider them a whole person. In fact, until the 80s, you could grape your wife. That's still immoral.
Okay, so I'm assuming you're an atheist. But if
yes, but it doesn't have to do with anything.
You as an atheist, yes, it does, because people that grew up with religion, where their holy text tells them that these animals are brought to the world.
What makes you think I don't have a religious background?
Well, the fact
you're
that
making
you said
assumptions.
Because the fact that I guessed correctly means my assumption was right, based off the fact that you.
Yeah, but you don't know that how do you not know that I was brought up religious or not?
I never said you weren't. I said I'm assuming.
That's what you said.
I said I assume you are atheist. I never said I assume you were atheist for your life.
Then you started to lead into your background of being raised religious, and that's going to make you have a different perspective or something.
You're twisting my words. I never said that. I'm saying people
please continue then. Just go ahead and continue.
I'm personally not religious either, but people that are religious.
Well, then why are you bringing it up? Like if you're not religious, then why are you bringing? But it doesn't matter. If I had a religion that said I can enslave men, does that make it okay? Does that make it that I can now morally enslave men?
Well, morality is subjective, but
I'm asking you in your moral framework.
Personally, no, because I grew up in America. But if
why is that immoral?
Because it's what we taught. As I said, morality is subjective. Is what we are taught.
I'm asking you, why do you think that it's immoral for me to enslave someone else?
To enslave another human being?
Yeah. I want to know why. Why is it immoral in your eyes?
Yeah, you're taking the freedom of a human being away.
Taking the freedom of someone experiencing their life, right? They have preferences. They have their own purpose.
I want to say marriage, but yeah.
Want to say what?
No, I was laughing at a comment. Someone said marriage.
But, not all humans can get married, right? Children, for example. It's not moral to marry off children.
Yeah, but it said 300 400 years ago, I can't even think of a timeline. I'll say a couple thousand years ago, it was morally okay to have slaves, which is why I said morality
It still
is
wasn't moral
subjective.
then either. It was not moral then either. If you ask any of those slaves, I guarantee they didn't like that.
For sure, but it's just
So why
the
would
way
that
of
be
life.
moral then? Why just because it's accepted in
It's
cultural?
not. It's not. It's not
It's not
morally in our
moral.
today's standards.
It's not moral even back then. It's immoral all the time.
In today's standards.
All the time. In what scenario would enslaving someone be considered moral?
Religiously.
Religiously, you can enslave someone.
This is what they thought back then. Today,
I'm asking you,
listen,
what makes it okay back then?
You are thinking in a 21st
I'm going to give you one more
century.
time. I'm going to give you one more time. Do you really think that culture dictates what's moral?
To them, yes.
No! I'm asking you! I will always be asking you from your moral perspective. Then stop using it as an excuse. Stop using it as an excuse. What is your excuse for using animals?
You should 100% not think closed-minded.
I'm done talking to you. You're just a freaking yapper. I'm so done. Going around in circles.
He was kind of appealing to popularity. If it was popular at the time, then it was moral, and it's fallacious reasoning.
I brought up multiple things. For example, again, husbands could grape their wives until the 80s. That was a culturally accepted thing. Always been immoral. I don't care what they thought. I think Bob has been here for a while, so I'm going to go from the bottom. Yeah, exactly, Sierra.
Hi.
Hey, Bob, how old are you?
19.
Oh, what year were you born?
05, August.
Okay. All right, cool.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So what was your reason for going vegan in the first place? Was it like moral or like healthy or like environmental? Just quick.
Well, veganism is about morality. I did go plant-based first because I didn't really understand what the animals were going through, but when I understood what the animals were going through, that's when I went vegan.
Okay. And then, so, the reason why everyone can't go vegan is because it's not really sustainable at this time.
And what makes you think that?
Because, one being, we need a lot more farmland to produce enough
Bob, were you here like 5 minutes ago?
Yes, I was here like the whole time.
Did you hear me quote that study, The Long Shadow of Livestock? Livestock's Long Shadow? Okay. That we would use 75% less of our agricultural land. We could feed our population and more. We could feed 10 billion people on 25% of our agricultural land. If we went plant-based, take away animal agriculture. Animals are very inefficient with resources. They take a lot of water. They take a lot of land. They take a lot of feed.
Well, that's because trophic levels, animals take only 10% of anything we give them.
Okay, so my argument is, let's save the energy and just eat the plants directly.
You could, but it destroys...
So your argument was that it's not sustainable. I just told you it is. So I guess what's your justification for unaliving animals and using them for your pleasure?
Wait, what were you saying? I was getting like a spam call.
What justifies you using animals and unaliving them unjustly?
For food and resources, and it tastes really good.
Okay, but you can live off plants that taste really good.
Not really, because I was vegan for a time.
Bob, are you gonna have a serious conversation, or are you just gonna say no? That's not true.
I was vegan at a time. When I was younger, I was vegan.
Okay, Bob, why were you vegan?
Because I just wanted to see if it was more sustainable than eating meat, and I just wanted to see if I could do better.
Okay, Bob, I've got resources for you so you can actually do it properly. I've got a dietitian you can talk to. See, Bob, you didn't go vegan. Do you see exactly what I'm talking about? If you genuinely did not want to harm the animals, you wouldn't be giving me excuses. You'd be like, resources? hot diggity dog, I'm going vegan. Instead, you drag your little feet and be like, oh, but change is hard. Like, these are the easiest resources. ChatGPT, you don't even need to talk to somebody.
I was vegan for a year.
I don't believe you, Bob. What's vegan? What's it mean?
Huh? Not eating
What
animal-based
does vegan
products.
mean? No.
Not eating.
It's a principled stance against animal exploitation. So that means you see animals as sentient beings that don't deserve to be exploited and used without consent, which we cannot get reliably from them.
Sentient beings, they have brains, they can process.
So what gives you the moral justification to use them, to cross their bodily autonomy for your pleasure and not their benefit?
Power. All right,
you have a great day. I don't really want to talk to you if you're going to be a child about it. No, you're being immature. You want to go vegan? Resources right there. If you have genuine questions, please throw them at me. But don't just, throw a fit like a child. I'm not going to deal with it. Okay, go from the top. Dirty? Are you over 18?
I'm gonna be 36 in 5 days.
Right on. Welcome aboard. Glad to actually talk to an adult.
So first of all, I got a lot of questions because I've never really met a vegan before in real life, and when I did meet them online, I'd usually ignore them because I fall for the mainstream narrative that you can't be a vegan and actually survive. So I don't want to really jump into that, but you know how it goes. You shaking your head, yes, So I want to correct the other guy that was on who claimed that he was religious or whatever. There is no religion that practices eating meat except cannibalism.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, in my faith, I'm a Christian. Adam and Eve did not eat meat until after they sinned in the garden. Even the carnivores today in the Garden of Eden didn't eat each other until after the sin of man. So there's a little word out there. My questions for vegans are: what do you do if everyone does go vegan with the current cattle that's alive?
So are we talking like overnight scenario?
No, I mean over time scenario. I mean, it wouldn't happen overnight, obviously.
If I could give you both too, like overnight, we give so many subsidies to fatten these animals up that we could turn that towards the farmers no longer producing more, like not letting them procreate and just caring for the animals for the rest of their lives. Not in cages, but sanctuary settings. And the longest lived ones are like 25 years. So about 20, 25 years, there won't be any more farm animals that we need to care for. That would be overnight scenario, which I really doubt will ever happen. If it was a gradual decrease, the demand for plant products would go up and the demand for animal-based products would drop. So those that produce animal products would reduce their supply because they don't want to lose money. So eventually there'd be so few animals. If majority people were plant-based, we'd probably end subsidies to any kind of animal agriculture and just let those few animals live out their lives on a sanctuary.
Okay, and I mean, why it couldn't be like in Africa? I mean, I don't really know the beginning era of America. I believe there was cows running around and steers and stuff, but like in Africa, you have the water buffalo. That's a basic.
Oh yeah, wild animals are fine. Wild animals are fine.
I understand, but like, couldn't cows live the same way?
So the problem, are you talking about just like letting them out live in the wild or something?
Yeah. I mean,
so the issue is if they could survive, the problem is we've kind of bred out things that were advantageous for them to survive in nature and made them overproduce things, which when you're in nature, wasting energy on overproducing milk or eggs is detrimental to surviving because you have to replace those nutrients. So we've unfortunately kind of handicapped all these animals to be dependent on us. So I feel like it would be like leaving a dog in the woods, right? Like there's maybe a chance they'll survive, but the chances are slim.
I don't know about that because in my neighborhood they have feral cats and they do a pretty good job of surviving from the coyotes.
Yeah. So you actually bring up another good point, which is that they themselves then will overpopulate as well, and they could potentially cause disease. Although I think they would just die out in the wilderness, and I think that would be cruel. Personally, I don't think anyone would release cows out into the wild because, again, it might even disrupt ecosystems, right? Just releasing some random animal. So I think sanctuaries would be the best case scenario, just because they would get all their needs met. They would still have freedom to do their natural tendencies that they still feel they want to do, but they would have their bodily autonomy. They wouldn't have their life taken from them for trivial taste pleasure.
Right. And do vegans eat fish? That's probably a silly question, but you have to understand I don't understand.
That's okay. Genuine questions, I have no problem answering. Fish are animals. They are sentient. They have a brain and a central nervous system. So they found that they do suffer when they're pulled out of the water. They're literally suffocating, and in fact, maybe feeling it even more intense because they can't shut down. Like humans have an ability to kind of shut down, and fish do not. They stay conscious through the whole thing until they die.
Right. Even something that's like near its end of its life cycle, like a salmon.
So most animals are harvested when they're like at a quarter of their lifespan because they're more tender, and as animals age, they get more hard and not as flavorful. So, and it's a lot more resources to get animals to an older age, which we already are tight on. So, and on top of that, would you like to be unalive when you're like 80 years old? Even though you've lived a full life, you know, don't you want to continue living as long as you possibly can?
Right. And what's with the avocados?
Oh, there's something, I think I've already, Lydia, do you remember? There's something about how they're pollinated. Like they rent out bees to go through the avocado fields to pollinate, to make the fruit. But the honey industry is the one that's renting out the bees. And the problem with it is that they push out native pollinators. So not only are the bees enslaved, but the native pollinators are pushed out, and they're even harder to recover once the bees are taken away. Like they're a slow rebuild into their natural robustness of pollinating. So using bees is detrimental to the bees and the environment. But a lot of vegan trolls or anti-vegan trolls like to throw avocados and almonds in our faces, because almonds use a lot of water for the trees, but nothing compared to dairy or even beef. So it's just all misinformation out there.
Right. And do vegans eat honey?
No, again, the bees are exploited, right? So they're gathering it for themselves for food, and then we're giving them either a substitute or we're burning their hive before winter.
Okay. The only problem I have with that one is as a natural medicine, you can use honey as to help you with allergy, like during allergy season, like local honey.
Yeah, we have alternatives for that. I do understand what you mean, but we have other ways. I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but there's other ways to combat allergies and becoming more adjusted to certain places. But using someone, you know, first of all, it is pretty low on the totem as far as my concerns, because the animals that are getting their throats slit are my main concern. But bees are still a sentient being. They can do math. They have preferences. It's still not okay to enslave them just because it gives you a benefit. You know, I was saying it earlier. Slavery of people was a benefit to like poor people or disenfranchised people that weren't enslaved, because it brought down the price of goods, right? It made things more accessible for them. But human slavery is still immoral, even though it brought good to some people.
Right. And another thing, I gotta watch how I say this because of the algorithms, but are vegans normally anti-Vs?
Anti what? Bees?
Anti-Vs, the letter V.
I don't know what that means, unless you just mean I'm against the letter.
Vax.
Oh, so
I
it's
mean,
more
being that they have animal blood and they're tested on animals and stuff, I mean...
See, I don't know about the efficacy of that. I'm pretty sure most are not. But if it's life-saving medicine, then I would say take the medicine, but make a fuss or demand that there be an alternative, because that's the only way that change happens is when people speak up and say, I prefer to not have this and I would like some choice. Because not having that choice to turn away from exploiting someone, to me, is an injustice.
That's true, but they do use these Vs on animals to test them, and that's how they have animal DNA in them.
Did you have something to say, Lydia? Okay. I personally think that people should be vaccinated. I don't know if that's going to do something to my algorithm, but I do think that people should be considerate of those that cannot, their immune systems are weak and need protection, because that's what it's for. It's for decreasing how many people the ailment, whatever it is, can stick to certain people, so it doesn't bounce to someone who is of a weaker immune system that can't defend itself. So that's the whole point of it. I do think it's kind of a personal thing because it is crossing your bodily autonomy, but I do think it's the right thing to do.
Do we understand that most of the cancers and diseases out there actually come from the hormones that they let the animals eat?
No, most of the diseases that we are suffering from are from consumption of animals.
Right.
So, okay, not just from medicine though. It's directly from our food.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the growth hormones.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying that something about the medicine was causing all these disease, and I'm like,
no, it's actually
the
actually the stuff that they're feeding them as their cattle. I mean, look at your chickens. They're bigger than they used to be. Cows are sometimes bigger than what they used to be, and you're eating that. That's got to be affecting you somehow.
Sure, but see, for me, it's not about my benefits. Like, even if flesh was like the miracle food, I still don't think it's right to take someone's life, if I can eat and survive on something else. It's immoral just because it gives me a benefit. If they're not consenting, you shouldn't cross someone's bodily autonomy.
Okay. All right. I'm looking at that one. So I wrote some stuff down here so I can ask. I'm almost done.
Okay.
This one's a little silly. But I have to,
okay.
In order to know if I can have a conversation with vegans, so we're doing a good job, I think. I just have to know the background. Are vegans anti-oil field? I know that sounds silly, but...
Oil field? That one I don't know it has nothing to do with veganism because there's no... Maybe they care about the environment, but veganism is specifically about exploitation. Is about direct human exploitation. Go ahead, Lydia.
I would say probably maybe anti-oil companies if they are like eliminating indigenous lands and such, like what is happening in the rainforest. So I'd say if like humans or like species of animals are being harmed in the clear cutting for oil fields and stuff.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I don't think inherently vegans are against oil usage.
Right.
All right, that makes sense. All right, that's basically all I got. I'm gonna go do a little research. I'm gonna watch that Dominion video, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Come if I see you again, let me know what you thought about Dominion because I genuinely want to hear what what
I followed you, so I'll be able to see you again. All right, thank you.
Cool. Yeah, you have a great day.
Oh, and just to clarify, I am you're speaking to, and you probably don't even know it, but I used to hunt. That slowly went away. That actually happened when my dog passed away. But
I'm sorry.
So I mean, I do come from aggressive background versus a vegan background.
Well, it sounds like you also come from a compassionate background if you had a dog companion.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And not only that, I do feel guilty when I do buy meats because like you see the brand names like Tyson and stuff, and you just wonder like what the animals went through. It's making my stomach sick to tell you the truth right now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's what it was. Is I had to watch what happens because I kept telling myself, there's humane methods, there's right ways to do it, and I had to go down that bunny trail to like learn for myself. But I'm just here to tell people to start doing that trail. Go look for it. Can you find the right way to exploit someone? I haven't found it.
Right. I appreciate you and thank you. I will be back.
Yeah. Thanks for coming up.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. Right on. I do love open-minded conversations. Like I said, I will totally take genuine questions, no matter how silly, but genuine. All right. Shoot, guys, I think Sply's been here. Come on up, Sply. Hey, how old are you?
21.
All right. What morally justifies putting one in a gas chamber but not the other?
Who's putting animals in gas chambers?
I think it's like 90% of pigs are stunned in gas chambers.
That's unfortunate, but those pigs are being used to to feed millions of people.
Okay, but we can feed everybody on plants, and in fact, it would be more efficient to do so.
That doesn't mean we should.
Why
Right?
not?
You mean why not?
Huh? You say I know why not?
I said that doesn't mean we should.
I know, and I asked why shouldn't we?
Because just because there's a better option doesn't mean we have to take it.
You don't think that we should be looking back on our mistakes and improving ourselves as a species?
I never said
Isn't that the point of every rights movement?
Rights movement?
You don't know what a rights movement is? Like civil rights, women's rights, workers' rights, LGBTQ plus rights?
Animals deserve rights.
Yeah.
I think that's problematic and insane.
Why is that insane?
Well, because then you would have to somehow justify quadrillions of insects being unalived. Quadrillions.
Are you genuinely concerned about those crop deaths?
So now I'm genuinely concerned. I want you to justify why quadrillions of insects must die.
Yeah. So crop protection is akin to self-defense. So I'm protecting my food, and those insects on their own free volition are coming in and they get harmed because they're attacking my food source, which is basically attacking my life source.
Also, question, right? Is it because you can't rationalize with these insects, right?
No.
I do have a question. Do you have like any data showing like the amount of
yeah, I do.
Quadrillions.
Is the number quadrillion? Like,
yes.
Is that the number?
Yeah, quadrillion.
Yeah, that's what he said.
I don't believe that's the number that a study would conclude. A quadrillion. That sounds like something a fifth grader would say.
It does.
It would be surprising. You guys actually saw the numbers, but I can show you the source when I'm done with this. Both your
But
DMs.
if you do care about insect population, I mean, you would still go plant-based because it takes significantly more crop usage and monocropping to raise all these animals that are being consumed.
There's still going to be the uses of pesticides.
I mean, ultimately, yes, but then it comes down, that's more of like a defense survival situation because we do have to feed mass populations of humans. So it's not, veganism isn't about anti-death and not harming anything ever. It's about doing as much as we can to reduce that harm and not exploit sentient beings.
So Lydia, I have a question for you, right? Do we unalive human beings that take food? Would you unalive a human being that takes food from you? Specifically a child or someone that has Down syndrome?
I mean, no, that's not like the ultimate thing, but it comes down to practicality. You can remove a human from a crop, but hundreds of insects is a lot more difficult to go and hand pick and remove from a crop.
You can self-sufficient. You can grow your own homegrown vegetables.
But it sounds like a whataboutism when you're bringing up all these topics, because ethically, there's not really good justification for putting pigs in gas chambers.
You didn't answer my question. Why aren't you self-sufficiating? With homegrown vegetables.
You're just pivoting at this point. Like we're trying to talk about the ethics of like using these animals when we don't have to. And now you're saying, am I going to unalive Down syndrome kids? Like, no, of course I'm not.
Well, and I'm asking you why, right? Because you can't rationalize with them, right?
Because it's wrong to harm someone who is sentient and is having an individual experience.
They're not moral agents, though. So
moral patients should be respected. We're the moral agents, and we should be like protecting them, not exploiting them.
Okay, so why is it okay to harm insects, but not okay to harm these people?
I'm not cool with harming insects, but sometimes it does happen. Me driving down the road, I'm going to hit mosquitoes on my windshield. I can't, like, do you have a good reason to like end that completely? Other than just, I got to sit in one location, I guess, never go anywhere.
You're the one that's giving them rights. I mean, I just want you to, this is the kind of questions you have to answer. You're giving them rights, right? You're just saying, oh, well, it just happens, right? But yet when it comes to people that aren't moral agents, such as children and people with Down syndrome, we find that it's extreme to unalive them, right? Because they're taking our food, even though we're quote unquote protecting ourselves. And we would go as practical as possible as to putting them into institutions and avoid unaliving them.
But the first thing wouldn't be to go unalive the kids and like the crop stealing from your garden. It would be calling someone to come get them. Like, hey, whose kids are these? Can you come get them? So yeah, no, like insects are a lot more difficult because it's an incredibly diverse like problem. But that being said, that doesn't mean plant agriculture can't evolve to eliminate completely the usage or harm of insects, because we have alternative methods of growing crops. Technology is changing that. But there's no other way to go about unaliving pigs for like meat other than the current system that we're doing. Like there's no possible way to evolve that system to like make no victims, because they are the victims. They are the product.
Yeah, so in both cases, there's going to be victims.
Sply, the difference, the scenario you're giving of children or someone mentally handicapped being attacking your food is that they're not in their natural state living in the woods around your place where you're trying to raise your food. Insects are in their natural habitat doing their normal everyday routines, okay? And they come in and they're gonna eat your food. That's you protecting yourself. So it's okay to protect yourself. Let's say that this mentally handicapped person was attacking you. I would say that yes, you can defend yourself. Self-defense is fine.
No, attacking me, right? I would say it's depending on the proportional force. Now, if that person was attacking
right, but I just told you though that the children force. And the mentally handicapped person in your scenario don't naturally just occur around crops. They're not just constantly coming in for food. They're part of our societies, and to leave them out there would be extremely irresponsible. And I do agree that our plant agriculture should be improved, but vegans only make up 1 to 3% of the total population, and most plant farmers are not vegan. So it's cheap and easy to knee-jerk to violence and take out all the insects. I agree. It's sad that these insects actually have to experience the pain of a nervous system drug. And that probably could be very painful for them if they're experiencing that. And I do agree that's wrong, but I have to eat something. So I put my money where I can and know that the least harm has occurred. Animal products, 100% cause someone to feel harm. Insect harm, maybe it happened. It's not like when you go over, if you look at crops, they don't have like this fog of bugs above them. There's not like, you said your number is hilarious. You would literally just see clouds of bugs around the plants, and that's just crazy.
It would be a lot of them. Quadrillion would be in the total of the year, right? Over the course of the year.
So you can't even prove directly that bugs are harmed in the crop production. We only have assumption. There's no real studies on this. That's why we're laughing at you saying this number. We've researched this. So you're being silly, and we're laughing at you.
And again, like I said, on a plant-based system, we would be using less monocrops and ultimately harming wildlife and insects versus what we're doing now.
I'm saying this. Are there still going to be victims in your diet?
Yes, but it's not about complete elimination of harm. It's about not exploiting someone. I'm not demanding bugs into existence to use them and force them to die in my crops. You are demanding animals be forced into existence to have their throat slit for your taste pleasure.
Is exploitation a form of harm?
It is a type of harm, but you're going to focus harm on pain, and that's not what it's all about.
Okay, wait. Do you not feel pain? Do these animals don't feel pain when they're being exploited?
It doesn't matter if they feel pain. Stealing someone's freedom in general is immoral, period. Go ahead, Ozark.
And you don't.
Hey, Sply, dude, do you mind if I ask you a question here?
Sure, go ahead.
Do you understand, what intentions are?
I would say so, yes.
So do you believe that intentions are applicable to, the outcome and consequences of specific harm?
Yes.
So do you believe that if somebody were to just randomly hop in front of your car, you should be tried for first-degree murder?
No.
Okay, so do you think that if somebody were to go out and then just purposely run into somebody because they felt like doing that, they should be tried for first-degree murder?
Absolutely.
All right, so according to your own logic, there is a clear difference between going out and protecting your crops versus specifically breeding animals into existence just to harm them for no reason other than you want to.
Who's unaliving these animals for no reason? I already gave you the reason, right?
Are you consuming animals?
Well, there are millions of people.
Are you specifically consuming animals?
Yeah, I am.
Do you shop at a grocery store?
Sure.
So you have options to not do that. So you are unnecessarily paying for somebody to do that.
Unnecessary does not mean bad, though. I think that's a
So,
disconnect.
so you're sitting here and you're trying to rationalize that unnecessary isn't necessarily bad or good, but then you're also trying to turn the logic around that, like self-defense is somehow bad,
I never said it was
whereas
somehow bad.
unaliving animals for your pleasure.
I told you already, it depends on the proportional force, right? You can defend yourself.
So you agree with the escalation of force principle then, right?
Yes.
So if somebody, using your example, a handicapped person breaks into your house and starts consuming your food, you would agree that it is possible to de-escalate that without necessarily harming them.
Absolutely.
All right. So would you agree that it is practical and easy to go out and defend several acres of crops that you're trying to feed against like thousands of insects? Like, do you think that's practical?
Thousands? I would say millions.
No, I'm using a specific amount of land that might be relevant to you specifically, and it's not millions on a couple acres. It's probably hundreds of thousands, perhaps during the season.
I would
for
say
you
yes.
specifically, not everybody else. For you specifically.
If I was a farmer, I would say yes. If I wasn't a farmer, I would say no.
Practical for you to go out and defend your crops against hundreds of thousands of insects without having to potentially harm them?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so there again is an inconsistency in your logic, right? We can apply the escalation of force a lot easier to somebody that might have a disability that's hungry and trying to eat food than defending your livelihood, your food sources, your survival against hundreds of thousands of insects.
Not necessarily.
No, it is necessarily.
It's not inconsistent because I already suggested.
It's extremely inconsistent. Because you've already acknowledged that one is practical and one is less practical. You've acknowledged that the escalation of force principle can easily be applied to one versus the other. And then you're saying that one's still somehow like hypocritical. You're being extremely inconsistent.
I never said it was hypocritical. I already suggested, right? Yes, I recognize it's not practical as possible, right? But here's the thing. I'm not giving these insects rights. And also, I already suggested that why don't you self-sufficient in homegrown vegetables?
Can I ask you, what specific rights do you think we're like expressing?
Not to harm them.
Not to exploit them, not to commodify them, right? Harm is inevitable. I think everybody on the panel has acknowledged that harm's inevitable.
Well, exploitation is a form of harm, right?
Yeah, exploitation is a form of unnecessary harm for most people. Again, intentions, right? You agree that intentions matter.
It's not a straw man.
You agreed intentions matter, but now you're removing the application of intentions in this specific instance.
If the intention, right, of these unaliving these animals were to just for funsies, I would agree that it's immoral and they should stop.
So that's exactly what it is for most people.
That's not what's happening, right?
That's exactly what it is for most people. Most people have options, but they prefer bacon. Like that's literally why most people are eating animals.
Wait, are the only people that have access to supermarkets are they the only ones like they're feeding with meat that these animals?
Did you hear what I specifically said? Did you hear what I said? Most people have access to other options. I'm referring to those people, including yourself.
Well, these industries are global. So I would say
it doesn't matter. I'm talking about your own individual actions.
With veganism then you're just targeting specific people.
You're sitting there saying that's like you're sitting there like questioning whether it's necessary or not and saying that people aren't doing it for fun. Most people are doing it because they enjoy the taste of a burger or bacon. Like that's what it comes down to.
No, I would say they're doing it because people need to eat. Right?
No, you can say that, but people have options and that removes the necessity. So yes, everybody is doing it.
Does everyone have an option?
Most people do, yes. If you have access to a grocery store, you do.
So most people have access to a grocery store. Can you prove that?
Yes. Most people live in heavily populated population centers, right? Cities, metropolises, like across the planet. So yes, most people do have access. And in fact, the poorest countries that don't have access generally rely heavier on plants.
Yeah, so can you give me a source on that?
Sure, you can follow me and I will give you the source of data afterwards. So again, if it's not necessary for most people to do you agree that people should stop consuming animals?
No,
Why not? So you agree harming for pleasure is okay then?
I never said harming for pleasure is okay.
But that's what you're implying.
That's not what I'm implying.
That's exactly what you're implying.
I don't think it's.
You're here in bad faith.
believe
I
it's
don't even think
rude.
you have a logical
I believe
argument
it's-
because
I
you
believe
can't
it's
even be
rude.
consistent
If
in
I can't
anything
stop,
that you.
how are you gonna keep? I'm gonna ask me a question and then continue to interrupt as I
Because you
answer the
keep
question.
inconsistently answering it or deflecting from it, and I'm trying to keep you on the topic.
I consistently answer it and then now I'm deflecting. What sense does that make, bro?
What have you consistently answered?
Sply, you haven't even said like what justifies you paying for another animal to go through that system. Your justification.
My justification.
Yeah.
These sentient animals don't deserve rights.
Why?
So you're a sentient animal. You don't deserve rights.
Non-human animals.
No, you are
believe
an
only
animal.
humans.
You are
only
biologically
humans.
classed as a primate, right?
Did I say
rights.
Did I say humans are not animals?
You said animals don't deserve rights.
It was in reference to non-human animals. And humans are sapient, not sentient.
Can you say the difference though? That
Humans
what
are
makes
sentient.
it okay to do that to them? Oh, sorry, lady, I didn't see you pop in.
These animals, right, as we recognize, they cannot be rationalized with. They don't give some sort of moral justice.
So then it is okay to harm disabled people for attacking your food. Then to you?
Well, no, because they're humans. I already said this.
Yeah, but they might not have the capability of rationalizing.
I don't care. We're inherently
so
capable.
There's another inconsistency in your logic.
It's not inconsistent if we're inherently
extremely inconsistent.
Hold on, Ozark. Over thousands of years, have we been capable of giving moral judgments and higher levels of understanding over thousands of years?
How is that relevant to right now?
No. Answer the question. Have we been able to?
How is that relevant to right now? I will answer it.
You ask me questions, right? You'll get to the point.
If you can answer how it's relevant to right now and what we do, I will answer.
I already gave you the question. Why are you deflecting?
How is it relevant to the conversation right now?
Relevant to this conversation because humans have consistently been able to demonstrate that we're inherently capable of sapience, higher levels of understanding and moral judgments. So just because a disabled person or children don't display this yet, we can not logically determine that it's because of internal or external factors that limits us of doing so. Not because, they'll never have the capability and therefore they're the norm and not the exception. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
So why does that justify unnecessarily harming other sentient beings for pleasure then?
I never said for pleasure.
Well, that's exactly what people are doing and why they're doing it.
Okay,
and you keep avoiding that.
I'm not avoiding it. I already said if they're doing it for funsies, we should stop them. However, that is not what's happening.
Most people should stop consuming animals then, according to your logic.
Because I told you.
Then you're inconsistent because most people are doing it because they enjoy the taste of animals.
No, I'm pretty sure they're doing it so that people can eat.
No, people are doing it because they enjoy the taste of animals. People have options.
Okay, just because people have options, right? That doesn't mean we're just going to stop because they have options. You don't know the kind of.
So they're doing it because they want to, or in essence, for funsies.
They're not doing it for
You're inconsistent, dude.
You're just guilt tripping yourself, man. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm not guilt tripping anybody. I'm pointing out your extreme inconsistent logic here.
Sorry, I just got really, really tired of his deflection. He could not answer for himself anything. He literally
I just wanted to shut him down.
Yeah,
I wanted to do exactly
what he was
trying to. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I was just trying to do to him exactly what he was trying to do to you, but actually use logic instead of trying to overwhelm with bullshit. So
yeah.
Thanks for letting me come up and do it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you taking him on. I was already pretty tired of him, so.
And Fly, you have been on many vegan lives before. I recognize your voice. You always have bad faith arguments.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah. All right, let's pull up another victim. Justin, Are you over 18? Oh, sorry, it's not loaded yet. Hey, are you over 18?
Yeah, I'm 37.
Right on. All right, so what morally justifies putting one into the gas chamber but not the other?
Well, for one, we don't use gas chambers that much. We mainly use a bolt gun or electrocution to do it.
It's actually not factual.
We're not trying to say it's moral. It's just how we live. I mean, it's what we live
that's
off
not factual. It's not factual. But it doesn't. You're
What's
right.
not
It doesn't matter. Most pigs are unalive through gas chambers.
No, they're not. Where are you getting your percentages at? Please tell me that.
USDA.
All right. That's incorrect. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, you can go verify that. We'll go with your scenario. We'll go with your scenario of bolt gun, which is not factual because their skulls are so thick. But what morally justifies taking away their life in general, just for your taste pleasure?
It's not for my taste pleasure. It's for my sustenance, my life to live, and everything. It's my livelihood because I'm a farmer. I raise pigs.
You can thrive off of plants.
But I don't want to. It's my choice. That's
now,
what you don't understand.
You're making the choice then to put someone through the scariest situation they'll ever experience for your taste pleasure.
Wait, now stop. Now stop for a second there. How do you know it's scary? Have you ever dealt with any of this? Have you ever been to a slaughterhouse?
Because our horror films are based off of slaughterhouses.
No, stop. A horror film? Really? That's a movie. You believe everything in Hollywood?
Base everything off fictional movies?
Horror films are based off of slaughterhouses. So we've made our scariest movies look like slaughterhouses.
And where are you getting this from? Please tell me that.
From my experience.
From your experience.
I would love to know the details of your experience.
Sure, that Justin does everything he knows off of his personal experience too, because he just said the USDA is wrong about gas chamber usage.
Well, I mean, most
you're wrong about what you've read on the USDA.
I don't know what's happening right now. Hello? Justin, you left alive. Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on. It sounded kind of scary. I don't like that. Yeah, he is telling his wife to shut it. Yeah, there's just no moral justification to put any animal through having their life taken, even if they're hugged to death. You know, it just doesn't matter. Yeah. I don't even know where to go from there. That kind of caught me off guard. Anyway. Ryan. Hey, Ryan. Are you over 18?
Yeah, I'm 32.
Hey. So what morally justifies putting one into a gas chamber but not the other?
I mean, it all depends on the way you look at it, though, doesn't it? Like, say you're a farmer and you do free range cattle, and that's the way you raise your cattle, and such like that. Like, they're gonna live a free and pretty luxurious life when it comes to their upbringing, all the way up to the point where they are inevitably killed.
Do you think that human slavery is immoral?
Do I think that human slavery is immoral?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What if they're like treated really, really well?
No, it's still immoral. It's a person versus a person, not a person versus an animal.
So then to me, I don't see a difference. Can you tell me what the moral difference is between enslaving a human and enslaving an animal? Like, what's the moral difference?
Hierarchy.
I don't know what that means.
We're above them.
Okay, so
we are an apex predator due to our intelligence.
Do you really think that just because you can dominate someone that you should?
No, you have the choice. That's why you're a vegan and I like eating meat.
Right. So if someone bigger and stronger than you made the choice to use you and your body without your consent, would that be morally acceptable? Because they're making the choice, right?
for sure, but due to our laws in the government,
I mean, legality doesn't equal morality. There was a lot of gross stuff that's been legal in the past.
Well, I
we
agree.
would call immoral. Okay, so it doesn't have to do with legality. It has to do with someone having a subjective experience and you robbing them of that, either forcing your purpose on them or taking their whole life altogether. Like, what morally justifies that?
I mean, to be honest, you got me a little stumped on that one. Like, what morally justifies, like, raising the animal in subjective views? Sure, no, I get that. Like, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Well, that's all it is. That's where I came from, and that's when I realized I don't want to demand that somebody have their subjective experience robbed from them, you know? So I already had that principle. It sounds like you do too. It was just about changing my habits to live in alignment with my own principles.
I mean, the way I was raised is a bit different, and the way my outlook on things may be similar to you, and that's why, like, I don't condemn vegans at all. I don't try to argue with you guys. I just try to understand your points.
Sure, I appreciate that.
I
mean, if you have genuine questions, I would love to answer them.
Oh I wanted to hop in to see if I could have some sort of rebuttal, and you know, I understand your point of view, and yeah,
well, so I get it. That feeling that you're having, that's what I felt too. I was like, I don't know, I couldn't wrap my walnut around a right way to exploit someone, you know? I still haven't figured it out. Every time I see these humane farms, it's just, there's still nothing humane happening there.
I mean, to take it off a subject a little bit, I mean, the government exploits civilians every day.
Yeah, but not to the same extent, right? Like, these animals they have their life taken from them at a quarter of their lifespan. And even if we waited for them to be old, it would still be immoral to take 80-year-old people and unalive them because they're old, you know?
Well, I can agree with that. I guess, like, it's something that we're not, like, I understand the common ground. I agree with you on that subject. It's just, in my brain, the way I'm wired, I enjoy meat too much.
We all were. Yeah, I had a vegetarian friend, and I would tease her. I'd be like, you're going to take this from my cold, dead hands. And she wasn't even telling me about vegetarianism. But I would still, I don't know, I just had that, like, feeling. But I didn't understand what I was demanding, you know? I hadn't seen it. And it's not about the suffering, but that's kind of what cracked my walnut. I was like, oh, wow, I don't want that to happen to animals. And then I kind of went down a trail of, I can't find any right way to do this. You're still robbing someone of their freedom. So the thing that I could do to not demand that to happen anymore was to live vegan, to not put in a demand for clothing or entertainment that's by animals, you know?
Do you mind if I ask you a question about, like, how your diet works? Because I've never done veganism. Yeah. I've never looked into, like, doing it myself. Like, I've looked at, like, because I go to the gym quite a bit. And I find, like, finding plant-based proteins. Oh my God, my tongue is just not working for me today.
I did that earlier.
I found that plant-based proteins are, like, you have to consume a lot more plants, I find, like, for my body type.
Okay.
Like when it
I do have resources, because it can be also that because your why might be not really that you want to stop harming animals yet, you don't have that motivation at the time that you were looking, so you might have even just overlooked what was available. But if you do have that motivation, I feel like you're going to be scouring for your options. But I do have resources right here. The top one is Cronometer. It's a free app where you type in what foods you've eaten, and it'll tell you a very detailed breakdown. It's free, of the food. Like a Fuji apple will tell you all the way down to the minerals. And ChatGPT, I encourage people to use them both together, because you can ask Chat to make a meal plan for you to make sure you meet your macros and your micros, you know, getting all that protein as well as any other little thing that you need to build up muscle. So Chat can help you make up the meals, and then you can double check them in Cronometer to make sure that they're correct, because sometimes AI can make mistakes. The last two, Challenge 22, you can actually talk to a dietitian, like a real dietitian, and ask them directly for a meal. They'll actually give you a meal plan, again, totally free. And you can tell them, I'm trying to bulk up for muscle, and they'll consider that in the meal plans that you guys design together. And then nutritionfacts.org, if you don't want to talk to somebody, they have what's called the Dailey Dozen, and it's they have a bunch of studies that show why they suggest those foods, and you can watch all the videos where they break it down. They cite all their sources. But the Dailey Dozen is just a checklist. You want to get 3 servings of beans, 5 servings of vegetables, I think 3 servings of fruit. And that's basically that's how I live, is I haven't used it for a while, only because I've gotten used to what I eat every day. But when I first started out, it was a good way to make sure I got everything I needed. And so you can take like a screenshot. If you take a screenshot, you'll get all of them.
I already did. I'll definitely take a gander at those.
Cool. Yeah, they're really great resources, but just don't feel overwhelmed. Do whatever's easiest for you. But I do suggest watching Dominion, though, because that'll give you the motivation that you need.
I've actually seen Dominion, so.
Okay. So you know what happens, what the animals have to go through.
Yes, that's another, like, that's completely different from like free range farming, though. Like free range.
That includes free range, cage free, grass fed. Includes all those too.
Well, really?
Yeah.
I guess I didn't.
There's another documentary that's called Cow, and it's like the small farm, like super small, and they follow just one dairy cow, and there's no talking in the whole video. It's just them following the cow the whole movie. But I still hurt when I see them take her life, because her milk production has declined and she's not producing as much for them. So even though they give her a treat and she has no idea it's coming, it's still sad that she has her whole life robbed from her when she's clearly healthy. She's not even a downer, which is when they're so heavy they can't even support their own weight.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, I appreciate the talk. And
yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you coming up and asking questions. And if not Dominion, maybe maybe like Cowspiracy or something. It's just that Dominion, well, if you've already watched it, I guess it won't change your mind, but maybe Gary Yourofsky's speech, the best speech you'll ever hear. That's on YouTube. He's just a guy that went to colleges and gave speeches, and he kind of helps make that connection where you're like, what is the difference between an animal and a human, and why do we consider exploiting certain types of humans immoral, but animals it's okay? And he kind of breaks it down really nicely. So that's Gary Yourofsky.
Okay, I will look him up.
Yeah, I gave you a lot there, so if you have any questions, please hit me up, give me a follow. You have any other follow-ups or anything? Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Especially if you go talk to like Challenge 22 or something, you actually talk to the dietitian directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming up, Ryan. You have a great day.
You too.
Thanks. All right. Let's see where we're at right now. I really appreciate people being open-minded. That makes me feel better about answering questions. I hate it when I have to be in this defensive mode, and then really there's no going back. I almost feel like I should just kick people as soon as we're getting aggressive, because we're not going to go anywhere with the conversation. And I just want to talk to people that are willing to hear me. It's not that you need to take me for my word, but you need to be curious. What am I talking about? Am I full of crap? Go look it up. That's what I want people to do. I don't know why it does that. Weird. Okay. Come on up, Eric. Oops, I was hitting the wrong spot. Hey, Eric, how old are you?
How old am I?
Yeah. Are you over 18?
I'm 57.
Right on. I just have to do it for TikTok.
Oh, I understand.
Thanks. What morally justifies putting one in the gas chamber but not the other?
Nothing morally justifies it. Okay, so if you're asking like a moral question, you'll never find that answer. I mean, it's right. Good to debate and get other people's opinions on it, but at the end of the day, I think it's people's opinions and people's choices. Okay, we have a choice, right? You chose to be vegan, others don't. Now,
Okay, but what
is there
about the
good and bad
animal's
in both?
choice?
Absolutely. You know, there's
What
benefits
about
to
the
both.
animal's? Eric, calm down.
Okay, all right.
What about the animal's choice?
Okay, but the animals were put here for our use. All right.
What do you mean put here?
The animals are created for our use.
Okay, if you're referring to your
consumption.
religion, if you're referring to your religion, there are no religions that require that you eat flesh.
No.
I can
I'm
be
not
a
saying, I'm not saying
vegan
it's
of your
required.
religion.
I didn't say it was required.
So since
I said
it's still a
use
choice,
and
we're still
requirement are two
talking
different
about
things.
Eric. Since we're still talking about a choice, you're still choosing to purposely enslave and exploit someone versus living in peace and love. Wouldn't
Not
your
someone.
religion
Not someone.
prefer that?
Okay, no.
It doesn't matter if you call
It's
them
not
a someone. They are a subject.
Animal and humans are different.
I don't know if I can handle you, Eric. I need you to be real with me, okay? Stop being focused on definitions. If you don't want to call them someone, fine. They are a someone. Just because we have dictionaries that are human-centric does not mean that a someone can't be an animal. They're a subject having an experience. You know, they're a they, you know? They're not an it. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, I guess. Go ahead. You're muted right now. Okay. I appreciate you coming up, Eric. All right. Whew. Just take a breather for a second. Yeah. There is no moral justification to use animals. They are sentient. They want to live just as much as you do. It's delulu to think otherwise. Most animals want to live, and if they didn't, it's because they're suffering or something's wrong. So, and it's not just, I mean, it's, my focus is on them, but it would help everything. I don't know why people drag their heels so hard. It would even help them directly. No, Eric, I don't want to talk to you. I do appreciate the enthusiasm. Maybe next time. I just don't want to deal with you right now. I don't think you're actually genuinely listening to what you're not here to have a conversation. You're here to beat me. And I'm not about that. I'm here to have actual conversations. To tell people they don't have to use animals. Debate can be good, but you're not debating me. And also you're talking over me. Like we can't even respond. And if you just shoot out a bunch of excuses, I can't remember all of them. So let's do one at a time, right? An animal is sentient. They feel pain. They have the capacity to feel joy. Yes, but I'm saying you're forcing your choice on the animal. You're forcing the animal to have their life taken from them, to have a different purpose forced on them. Have and choose. Well, right. I agree. I don't think people that especially have access to grocery stores and farmers markets, they have a choice to not harm someone. It's moral to abstain from, paying for someone's exploitation. It's immoral to demand someone's exploitation. You're demanding someone's exploitation. Yeah. Tried to go off, yeah. How am I forcing anything on you? You chose to come into this live to talk to me. How am I forcing? Am I shoving tofu through the screen? Because if that's happening, I want to know how that's happening. That's pretty cool. I can't force anybody to do anything. All I can do is give you information. Hey, I learned this. My principles are not the tofu. Yeah. I'm basically just saying I have a principle that harming or even using someone, crossing their bodily autonomy without consent from someone who can't even consent on top of that is immoral. If you agree with me, but you choose to not live vegan, you're not living in alignment with your own principles. It feels good to actually live the way you think you should instead of contradicting yourself. I'll shoot you some tofu right through the screen again. I'm not forcing the people that take those jobs to pick vegetables. That's not true. Yeah. Yeah. No, in fact, I would say that, yes, I think that people that work in agriculture are absolutely abused in all forms of agriculture, plant and animal agriculture. That should absolutely be addressed. I have no problem with that being addressed. But that's not me demanding that they be put through that. In fact, you know, a lot of the times those people are working in the animal ag sector for the animals' food. Yes, I like this too. Let's see, where are we at right now? I don't lose anything. 1.5. I don't know, it's like last time was so good, it's slowed down now. Okay, but we grow more plants to feed animals. So if we want to decrease, a great way to decrease the exploitation in the ag sector is to eliminate animal agriculture, right? And then there would be way fewer, we would grow fewer crops, feed more people, and exploit fewer people. In fact, if people had a vegan mindset, they're going to definitely not want to exploit humans. Fro double. Okay, I'm gonna bring you up, but you gotta be over 18. Hey Fro, how old are you?
I'm 34.
Right on. So, what morally justifies putting one in the gas chamber but not the other?
I would have to say that it's just the most humane way to actually unalive the animal. That's why we do the one.
I think I missed the beginning of that. Say it one more time.
It's just like probably the most humane way we have to unalive the one animal.
They do claim
and
that.
We do choose to euthanize dogs. So, I mean, we do often choose to unalive other animals.
Do we think that it's okay to put dogs in a gas chamber?
If we consider that the most humane way, but as the society so far, we've decided lethal injection.
Right, so why don't we use gas chambers since they're so humane, we find out?
Well, it's probably lethal injection is more humane, but considering we're going to consume the one, we wouldn't want to inject it with poison.
Have you seen pigs in a gas chamber? Have you seen that footage before?
I have, but it was a while ago.
Okay.
So just
watch the
a
movie
little bit of heads
Ignorant.
up. I was vegetarian for, let's see, a year on 2 different occasions. And I have seen a lot of it's been a few years, like a decade plus. So any new ones, I really haven't. But I have seen a few documentaries on slaughtering the unaliving of animals and things like that.
If it's not really about the suffering anyway, so if you already know what they go through and that doesn't change your mind, maybe thinking about the fact that they're a subject having an experience and that's being robbed from them for no reason other than taste pleasure, because we can get everything we need from plants.
That's where my disagreement comes in. It's not viable for everyone to get everything from plants.
But we're talking about you. I'm not talking about everybody in the world. I'm talking one person at a time.
Specifically, it's even less viable.
And why is that?
Just simply because of my schedule and where I live. Someone mentioned earlier that like it's easy access to everyone. No, I'm a bit in one of the food deserts as far as trying to get like anything.
Right, but you don't even have the mindset to see animals as a sentient being that deserves respect. So you just see them still as a resource. If you genuinely saw them as a sentient being, you'd be looking for literally all of your substitutes, all of the options available to you, instead of being like, well, that's that, you know.
Right.
Don't you think that's kind of an injustice that somebody has to be forced to live a certain way when when they want to make a choice to live more ethically?
Right, but that's the thing. Not everyone can, and it's just not a viable option.
Everyone can go vegan. Everyone can go vegan.
And not really, because not everyone can afford to go vegan either.
But see, you're missing my point. anyone can look at an animal and start to realize there's someone in there experiencing the world, and it's not right for me to cause them harm when they don't deserve it, when it's completely unnecessary. You'll change your mindset, and you'll make changes. Have you seen Dominion?
I haven't seen that one, no. Like I said, the ones I've seen have been.
You should watch Dominion. You should watch Dominion. And if not, maybe
I doubt
Pignorant.
the way we unalive a lot of farm animals have changed in the past 10 years. So it's probably very similar.
I still don't know what your moral justification is for taking their life. Just because you claim to live in a desert doesn't mean you can't make changes. Doesn't mean you can't recognize that an animal doesn't deserve to be exploited.
But the changes that are available to everyone aren't as wide open as you think, though, or as you make it seem.
I don't think you even know what's available to you because you don't have the right mindset. You're still just making excuses. You're like, I can't do it. Just can't do it. I think that, if you genuinely didn't want to hurt the animals, you would do everything in your power to not harm the animals.
And so what resources do I have here locally to get all the calories, nutrients, and specifically the protein that I need? Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you get some beans delivered to you? Maybe bags of rice.
I eat beans and rice almost daily.
Well, you can live off of that. Then you just need to add in a couple of vegetables, maybe a fruit every once in a while.
Yep, I do all that.
Well, then you don't need to use animals. It sounds like you eat everything.
Grams of protein. Have you tried to consume 200 grams of protein and 3,000 calories?
Easily.
Not using processed food?
See, do you see what I'm talking about? You won't even look. You're so confident that you have to eat animals, you're not even willing to look at the evidence that you can thrive on a plant-based diet. I have resources right here. This one has a dietitian you can talk to and say, hey, I'm bulking up and I live out in a food desert. What can I do? They could still set you up with meal plans and help you.
All right. Now we're back to is that a financially possible thing for me?
Yes. This is free.
Well, no, those are free. Okay. But having to pay for all the extra, because there is a premium to being vegan.
You're going to have to buy your food, but it's usually cheaper than flesh. Beans and rice are pretty damn cheap.
But the quantity you have to consume is very offset.
If you eat enough calories, you'll get all the needed protein.
I'm telling you, an entire bag of peas.
I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a nutritionist. You need to go talk to a nutritionist. If you don't believe me, how can I make you believe me? I'm not a professional. I can tell you the evidence I've looked at, like the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. They're the largest body of nutrition professionals that influence governments' food pyramids and whatnot. They even say that a well-planned vegan diet is safe and healthy for all stages of life. So if humans can thrive this way, you can find a way to do it. I understand that some people live in situations where they may not have access to something right away, but you damn well believe they're going to replace it as soon as they can if they have a vegan mindset. And they're not going to come onto an internet page and be like, this is my loophole, right? They're going to be ashamed of it because they're going against their own principles, harming someone.
All right. So again, it's just, so your chat has mentioned like pea protein goes a long way, which pea protein does go a long way. I can eat an entire bag of peas, which is like fucking 4 servings of peas.
They're talking about pea protein. They're talking about pea protein. It's a protein powder. It's a protein isolate.
I don't want powder. I don't want processed food.
Oh my gosh. Okay, look. There's nutritionfacts.org. They have a little checklist called the Dailey Dozen. So you just make sure you get all your basic nutrition, and then you can just like eat more of what they suggest for protein. You only need like 3 servings of beans a day to meet your needs, and then beyond that, you could just eat tofu or tempeh.
3
There's also
servings
protein
of beans.
powders. You receive mail. Why don't you just order something online?
Okay, see, that's where I'm back at. It's going to be some processed. 3 servings of beans is not nearly enough protein a day. Like, I can actually
for the average person, it is.
So I'm just curious, like, what are you considering processed? Are you like concerned about ultra processed food or any kind of processing whatsoever? Because every food type has to be processed to make palatable for humans.
No, not everyone. Some vegetables can simply get vegan. harvested.
I mean, yes, but animal products have to be processed. Like there is a process to making it palatable for humans. So I'm confused about why you're afraid of processing it all.
And the butchering, right? That's the process we do to meats.
Yeah, you're
Well, at least
processing an
the meat
animal.
I try to consume, right? Granted, there is extra stuff that goes through if you go to the ones through like the supermarket and all that, which again, I'm trying to avoid those as well because free range and plant fed and all that, or I'm sorry, grass fed is actually better meat for you. Like,
But
it is better for
regardless,
you,
I mean,
but it is
processing is
also
as
better for
simple
us.
as just making it into bite-sized portions and palatable.
I'm sorry,
I
can you
know.
repeat that?
I mean, processing can be really as simple just making it in bite-sized portions and palatable. Processing doesn't mean it's a process of making it additives or like making it unhealthy. And a lot of people kind of fall for, oh, if it's processed, it's bad. That's not inherently true. It depends on what it is. Ultra processed foods with like high added sugars, etc., can be poor for our health.
Right. And so something also along the lines of like the pea protein, like you're saying, that is also processed. I'd rather just eat peas if I'm trying to get pea protein. And then that's where I'm back at is like the amount of peas you have to, or I can consume, and they don't even touch the calories that I need. Well, yes, peas will give me a decent amount of protein. They won't touch the calories. Like I often will eat an entire bag of peas as part of my meal.
Yeah, I think that the protein isolate is better just because I don't think peas themselves have a ton of protein. I would honestly say you should be eating beans or legumes, as those are super, like soybeans are out of this world packed with protein. Like, I don't know why you can't eat soy. You can eat soybeans, in fact. I had soybeans the other day. They taste just like black beans, but they're packed with protein and other nutrients.
It's the amount that you get along with the calories, right? It just is
There's a, what are they called? The textured vegetable protein, which is just soy curls. They're just dried out soy. They have no fat, or they're low fat, and they're very high also in protein. In fact, I think I have a bag of them. Grab them. Soy curls. Take a look at them. Whoops. Soy curls. Let's see, what's their protein? They're 120 calories. There's 5 total grams of fat. And where's your protein? Is 11 grams. They also have calcium, iron, and potassium. These are super cheap too. So you can get a lot of protein for cheap. Do I have a can
I'd have to look up both. I've never actually looked up many vegan snacks. I'm not really much of a snack person in general.
Oh, you don't need to do snacks if you don't want to. But like I said, if you want a meal plan or something, talk to the dietitian. They can literally set you up with a meal plan that will fit your exact needs, because you'll be talking to them like, hey, I need to meet this threshold for protein and this for, I don't know, I'm not a bodybuilder, so I don't remember all the nutrients you guys take in, but there's vegan alternatives to everything.
Depends what kind of gym bro you are. I'll just say that. But a lot of them just focus on like fats, carbs, and protein for the big 3.
Yeah, well, so this is 1 can of soybeans. It's 15 ounces for the whole can. A serving is a half cup, 130 grams, 130 calories for a serving. Total fat 4.5, and your protein again 11 grams for half a cup. So I think that you could easily meet your protein needs. But, you know, I understand it's overwhelming. Change is scary, but that's why I have these resources.
It's not that. It's like it's the huge amount of quantity when I can just have a chicken breast.
I think you're just scaring yourself. You're just telling yourself you have to eat this huge amount of plants, but you don't. There's actually YouTubers you can go follow. There's Hench Herbivore. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
He's a super ripped dude. He's also, his wife is a nutritionist. It's fine. I'm just trying to show you examples of people who get really buff eating just plants. And I understand that you live in a specific area, but like I said, the Challenge 22, they can help you with that. They can directly tell you where to go and what foods to get. But it doesn't sound like you have the why in here. You're still holding on to your taste pleasure because you're not understanding that you're taking
Oh, I
someone's
don't like the
entire
taste of meat.
existence away.
No. I don't like the taste of meat. I don't. There's a reason why why I went vegetarian for a year on 2 different occasions.
Well, right. The focus shouldn't be about you, though. It should be about them. You're having a victim at the end of your choice, and I'm telling you, plants are not a victim. You can eat plants. You can find a way to eat all your nutrients from plants, fungi, even seaweed. You can get everything. But you're taking someone's life because it's easy and it's there. And convenience doesn't justify taking someone's life. Like if you were in their situation, would you tolerate being someone's protein source?
It would be. It is a necessity, I'd say, not a convenience.
I don't think that you actually know if it's a necessity where you're at. I think you're just kind of relying on the word food desert. I don't think. It doesn't sound like you're genuinely trying to find solutions to this problem. It just sounds like you're defeated. You're like, oh, this is it. It's all I can do.
I mean, it's just literally my option is like Walmart or Family Fare. That is basically
oh my God, you have Walmart?
You have here. Well, we do have.
Go to Walmart. Go to Walmart. What are you doing? You have access to everything, especially the soybeans.
Hey,
yes, they have these.
We don't have a big Walmart. It's a small one.
What does it matter? They don't have food?
Because they don't offer as much stuff. Simple as that.
They don't have food?
They do.
And Walmart's great because you could also shop online and order, pick up at your store and stuff like that. Like they're actually trying to compete with Amazon, except, them being a grocery store is awesome.
It sounds to me like what needs to happen is you need to go either maybe nutritionfacts.org, go look at the Dailey Dozen and see what you need in a day and just search for the vegan alternatives. Or I don't know what to get to you. Do you agree that using someone who can't consent is immoral?
Well, again, we defer on someone versus an animal.
A person, a human being. Do you think that it's immoral to use a human being if they cannot consent?
Yeah, but that's a human, again.
Okay, so what is the moral difference then between the animals that you decide to use and the human? What morally makes it okay to stab one but not the other?
Because it's a different species. We are humans, and they are animals. And I know humans are animals.
I don't think species matters. I don't think species matters. If another alien species came in that was just as intelligent as us, but they had some individuals that were like our population, alterly abled mentally or disabled, would you consider that it's okay to exploit those people or those aliens that are mentally challenged?
I don't know why we brought up mentally challenged people at all, but...
because I'm trying to say that they're not as intelligent.
Well...
Most people pivot to intelligence.
Okay,
if an alien race came in...
If
an alien race came in and they're just as smart as us, would it be okay to exploit them?
Well, we have no species even close to our level of intelligence. So,
okay, let's say this alien species comes in. They have similar intelligence to us. Can we exploit them? Is that moral?
Well, okay. When you're hypothetical here, if they just kind of show up, they're probably more intelligent because they're probably more technologically advanced.
Is it moral to exploit them?
Well, we wouldn't be able to. But no.
I like that you've changed the scenario. I'm telling you, no, I want you to answer my hypothetical. They've come in, they want to be a part of our society. Would it be moral to exploit them? Okay, why?
For the third time, no, because they would be a high-level intelligent species.
Doesn't matter. This is my hypothetical, Fro. You're making up your own, okay? They are similar intelligence to us. It doesn't matter how they got here. Let's say that they live under the dirt, in fact.
They are the same as us.
I'm saying they have similar intelligence. They're not human, though, so it's not okay to exploit them? Because you said it was because we're human that we can't, or that we don't exploit other humans. And I'm telling you, it's not species.
I separate humans from animals is because they aren't high level of intelligence.
So it's intelligence. So why do we protect humans that are low intelligence?
Because they're the same species as us.
Oh my God. Do you see the circle you're going in right now? I just gave you the alien example and you're already back to the same excuse. It's not about species. You said that the alien species who's not human, it's immoral to exploit them. You just said that. So it's not about species. And then you brought up intelligence. And I pointed out there are humans that don't have intelligence.
Why I think that us being a different species matters is because they aren't high-level intelligent other species, right?
So what if the aliens had individuals? You see why I jumped ahead? Okay. What if they had individuals that are mentally handicapped? Can you exploit them?
So the aliens, mentally handicapped people, would be outliers in their populations, much like the outliers in our populations are.
Why would we make carve-outs for our outliers? Why would we do that?
Because we could consider them part of a high-level intelligent sentient
It has nothing
species.
to do with their intelligence. It has to do with someone having a subjective experience. If I go and kick someone that is of low intelligence, you're not going to think, oh, they're lower intelligence. They don't know. You're going to think, oh, that individual just got violated.
No, see, that's the thing.
Because they're a subject having an experience.
No, because we are making an exception for people who are mentally handicapped. They're the outliers in our population, in our species. In our species, we give.
But I gave you, I gave you an example of aliens.
So fucking adamant on like we should be able to assault handicapped people. This is fucked. I'm just saying.
Okay, if you don't want to have a genuine conversation, you can just leave.
Well, I am, but you don't understand.
So you don't understand why I'm pointing out the people that we make carve-outs for? You don't understand why? Because your argument is, if they're of low intelligence and not our species, you can do what you want to them, even though they're a subject having an experience. And then I told you we have aliens that come and visit us that are of similar intelligence but have some mentally handicapped, and you still think it's immoral to use them. Do you not hear your inconsistencies?
No. You just said it right there. You said and high intelligence and our species, right? If they're not one or the other,
I didn't say high. I said they're equivalent. They're equivalent intelligence.
We are high intelligence. Humans are a high intelligence species. That's why I'm saying
where did I go from there?
Equivalent.
If they had mentally handicapped aliens, would it be okay to exploit them?
No, for the same reason we wouldn't exploit ours.
You just said that's because they're human, though. And that
and
they're
the reason
intelligent. Mentally, they're of the same cognitive. They're like similar to a cow.
So they would be,
they're similar to a. I'm gonna bring up one person that wants to talk. I think. Oh no, where'd you go? Yeah, I'm gonna bring up one person. I'm kind of done with you though. Oh, Plants, I thought you were gonna talk.
Hey, what's up?
Okay.
So essentially, you were saying that them having intelligence or being part of a species that has intelligence and not being human are the two things that give somebody moral value?
I mean, everything has inherent moral value. Like, I've never argued against that.
Right. Well, we're saying the value to not like eat them for a meal.
Right. Yeah. If they are part of a high intelligent species capable of having like intellectual conversations like this back and forth. Yeah. Okay, on our planet, we only have the one species capable of that. Other species show that they may eventually evolve into it, right?
Yep. Okay,
but we don't have any other besides us right now.
Let's say somebody was going to eat a mentally handicapped person. Would you think that that was wrong?
They are part of our species. Even though they are an outlier in our species, they still deserve the same human protections for being part of the human species.
Let's suppose before they ate them, they gave them a DNA test and they found out that they're not human and they were never human. Is it okay then?
So what?
Let's say they were about to eat them and you stopped them and then they gave you a DNA test and it said they were never human. So it is okay to eat them then?
But they're obviously human, right? Like this is some weird ass made up example.
No, they wouldn't.
This
have
is literally
human
something
DNA.
that would never happen.
They wouldn't have human DNA. So do you think that's moral?
Are you trying to say mentally handicapped people aren't human now?
In this hypothetical, yeah, this person isn't. They don't have human DNA.
but they're still look like a human.
Yeah, correct.
So they're a human, right?
So is your definition of a human someone that has to look like a human?
I mean, are we going to get to when are you scientifically not a human versus when are you an ape?
Well, I'm asking you, like, what would you
Because
consider
we're
human?
still
Like, if I took a
technically an ape.
pig,
And if you look at, like,
a
if you go
pig and I
online and
put
check out the gut given, she actually makes a joke about how, like, there's the whole meme about return to monkey, and scientists can't actually say when we stopped being monkey.
Yeah, but we can classify what a human is, right? Scientifically, it's through DNA.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, do you agree with that, or are you saying it comes down to looks?
I mean, yeah, I guess DNA, but you're making up some hypothetical how we have some species out there that looks just like a human, was raised and birthed from a human, but isn't one. But okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a hypothetical question. I mean, it's possible. It could even like happen in the future,
It's
right?
not
They have like
possible for a human
technologies.
to birth another species. That's not possible.
Okay, so let me ask you. So they have gene editing technology, right? So it's possible that we could clone a human and change their DNA enough to where they still look exactly human, yet they don't have human DNA. So would you think it would be okay to eat them if they didn't have average human intelligence?
I mean, you're starting with a baseline human, even if it is at the genetic level. And I guess we could bring up a whole different argument at like when a human starts, right?
They were
But-
never human. So their DNA
Right,
was
I mean-
created in a lab, and they were never a human.
All right, so it's not a human. It's literally just like a monstrosity that you made.
Well, no, it looks exactly like a human in all regards, but it doesn't have human DNA.
I just want to throw this in there that a lot of monkeys have like 98.5% of chimpanzees have 98.5% similar DNA. So it's not that outlandish to think that there'd be a species that's just slightly off of the DNA.
I mean, we had
Sure, yeah,
Neanderthals
humans,
exist,
it's
right?
like
And they weren't humans, right?
With a banana, but that still leaves millions and millions of other DNA that make us
So
up. That's
would you
different.
eat a Neanderthal if they existed?
Well, that's a tough one. Probably not. They probably taste like shit. And that's a little bit of they are basically human. Yeah, I understand the genetics a little bit different, but
Well, they're not human. They're not Homo
they
sapiens.
were also a high level intelligent, not as intelligent as us, but they died off.
Great.
No.
So if we found a human species that was like the Neanderthal that had equivalent intellect to a pig, would you think it was okay to eat them?
I mean, isn't that the same as the societies that currently eat monkeys?
Well, no. I mean, it's a different situation than that.
Well, I mean,
I'm saying they look very, very similar to humans.
Level to pigs.
We're asking your
monkeys-
morality.
monkeys
It's
look a lot
irrelevant
more
what
like-
other societies do. We're asking your morality.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If it's
Wait, so you would think it was morally justified to eat them?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's pretty much a reductio right there.
I mean, because at that point, what's the...
Yeah, that's
I
an
don't know.
insane view.
Yeah. Also, I was just looking up. Neanderthals shared 98 to 99% of our DNA, so they're pretty similar to chimpanzees to us. So your example is perfectly fine. I don't know what he's talking about.
Absolutely. I mean, they're getting to the realm now where they can change DNA in like petri dishes and
It's
stuff
true.
and actually create life forms that never existed before. So if they did that with a human, they could alter the DNA, say like a 0.5% or something, to the point where this isn't a human anymore, but it looks exactly like a human.
Yeah. The point is, there's someone in there having a subjective experience that, didn't consent to losing their life or even having a different purpose forced on them. So, all right, let's get another victim up. Let's see who else we can get up here. Shoot, I haven't looked at it for a while. I'm just going to grab from the top today. Chris. Hey, are you over 18?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hey.
Okay.
So
I
what
just
morally
want to
justifies
understand-
putting one in the gas chamber and not the other?
Yeah, so I wanted to understand is, are you saying that because of the species, or you basically saying species doesn't matter in the end, right? Like we are all the same, with the
Morally.
same life.
Yeah, morally.
So
Go ahead.
are you then basically saying I cannot harm animals at all?
It's more of a, it's when it's unnecessary. Like if you're defending yourself, I think that's fine to defend yourself.
Okay. But I cannot use it for my benefit.
Well, there's no, I don't know, just to say purely for your benefit, it's you're using someone, you know, you're exploiting them. I don't care if you pick up poop, I guess, from the side of the road and want to eat it. But I'm specifically focused on you just not seeing animals as resources and just eating what you have available.
Are you, I mean, I really want to know then if you're that honest and consistent, would you then say if they're, you know, you can't use any future medications, right, which are based on animal tests?
So if someone needs life-saving medicine, I would never advocate for them to not take their medicine. But I would also say they should ask for an alternative. Are there alternatives? Look first before you just assume there isn't. Sometimes they just offer you a medicine and you don't know if there are alternatives. So just ask. If there's not, then I would suggest still taking your medicine.
Serious stuff now where we have animal tests and so on. Cancer medication.
Yeah, animal testing is unnecessary. It's like it's archaic. We have technology that surpasses the reliability of animal testing. In fact, we almost learn nothing because animals are different from us. You know, they don't react the same way to things.
Yeah,
so
it's estimated to only. Oh, sorry. I was going to say,
go ahead.
It's estimated to only be about 20% effective by the scientific community. So you have areas like Canada that completely banned animal testing because it's actually not even a good way to determine whether something's safe or not.
That is a fact I have to check. I was, you know, those two big magazines, Nature and Science, right? And there was an article why it's kind of common agreement in the community you need animal testing. And in many countries, in my country, it's not allowed to bring serious medication to the market without testing on animals. At least mice or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard of governments and regulations enforcing that, but that doesn't mean that it's effective. It's just, they're just trying to check a box, which is why it's even more unnecessary. A lot of the times when they're doing these studies on animals, they're literally not doing any science. They're just doing it because they have to receive the funds that they're getting. They have a requirement to fill. So it's just pure abuse. It's just pure abuse.
That is something I would disagree.
Yeah, go look into it for sure. You should absolutely go look. The vivisection is on animals. It's just terrible.
Just to clarify, you're saying with cell cultures and computer models, you can replace any animal test. That's what you're saying?
Well, yeah. Plants just told you that Canada totally eliminated animal testing. They're still fine. I haven't heard of any crisis happening in Canada specifically.
Yeah, it's in the Western societies, generally they use computer models to determine it because you can accurately depict human DNA and how a drug will work with human DNA. Versus if I take something, let's say I take a medicine, I give it to a rat, right? It may have beneficial qualities to the rat, but then once I go to human trials, it could actually have adverse effects because we have different DNA. So it's actually provide you a false positive or a false negative. So it's not even worth it.
Yeah, we have to test on humans anyway. So even though they do the test on animals, they still have to test on humans.
In the second stage, yeah.
Right, but like Plants just said, we can use computer models. We don't need to use animals. They're not even reliable.
Okay, that is something. So for systemic testing, for specific testing on cell level or on, I know there's projects like Open Cardio where you can test on specific organs. Systemic tests, I don't think there's a replacement.
Like, let me also bring it to this too. Let's say hypothetical where there's a drug and we can only test it on an animal, right? And that's the only way we can know. Then you're going to get differing opinions from different vegans. But what we're trying to focus on is unnecessary harm that we don't have to cause. So do you eat animals?
Sorry?
Do you eat animals?
I don't eat meat, but that's not my topic here. I really want to find out if this is a point that you can take medication testing, tested on animals. Because I think if you use the species argument, you're not allowed to take medication that's being tested on animals. If you're consistent on that argument.
We've already clarified this, though. We've already clarified life-saving medicine, take it, but advocate for an alternative.
Yeah, but if there's no alternative, is it okay?
Like I said, if there was a hypothetical where, let's say, we had to unalive like one monkey, right, and we can make a drug that could potentially save millions of humans, I think certain vegans are going to say, yeah, I think I agree with that. Certain vegans are going to say, no, I don't agree with that. Just like if we had to like unalive one human to save like millions of humans, a lot of people are going to say, yeah, that's justified, and yeah, a lot of people are going to say it's not justified. So it depends on people's moral framework. But this is like a gray area question that you're asking when we're trying to talk about things like eating animals or consuming like their fluids, different things like that.
I don't think
Chris, it's similar. Chris, it's similar to if you were trying to survive on like a desert island, right? You're gonna maybe do things that cross your principles to survive sometimes. Some people have that urge to survive so hard that they will break their own principles. It's the same thing with the medicine. But see, it's the same thing with the medicine. Are you taking this medicine cosmetically? Are you just taking it just as an option, or like, is it necessary you take this medicine?
Yeah, I'm really talking about medicine. You would not survive without.
If it's necessary, then I would say take the medicine, but advocate for an alternative. That's all you can do.
Let me ask you.
Advocate is fine, but we just make the premise it's needed.
Is your argument that like if something was tested on animals, like vegans shouldn't use it because it was? Is that what the point you're making?
If you use species as an argument, yeah, you're not allowed.
Okay, so
it's not about allow though.
Would you say that like you're a humanitarian and like you don't want to cause harm to humans?
Say again.
Would you say that like you're a humanitarian and you don't want to cause harm to humans?
You have to repeat it slower. Language barrier. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So would you consider yourself a humanitarian? Like you don't want to cause harm to humans? Like you believe in human rights?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, great. So like a lot of the rocket technology we use now and a lot of modern medicine derives from 1930s in Germany, where they did very horrific things to people. So do you think that we should abandon all of that technology and research because there was harm involved in it?
Well, I would say that's not my argument, actually. That my argument is, let's say from now on, with tests that being made in the future, should you support by buying medication that's tested on animals, right?
Okay, so to clarify, so you can see the point that if harm was done in the past, then it's okay, right? So we could proceed in the future.
Well, then, okay, I get your point. Then let me bring in your argument. There's medication, right, that where you need to kill animals actually to produce it. The ones that goes to the refrigerator, right? Against arthritis and stuff like that.
Well, we could talk
you
about
need to
that,
kill mice to produce it.
I clarified what your argument was, and you agreed, where it was like if something had to be harmed in the past, then we're going to abandon the research over our principles, right? And I give you a scenario where that happens now. So you agree with me that if harm happened in the past, it doesn't necessarily mean it's right to just throw away that research.
That I would agree, yeah.
Okay, great. So then now you're talking about current harm, right?
No. I'm talking about, I get your point that the harm is done anyways, and that there's no new harm caused. That's your argument, right?
Well, I'm saying in those specific scenarios, yeah, I agree that there is harm caused currently to animals for research.
Yeah, okay, then I'm bringing a new argument. I'm saying there's a lot of medication which needs killing animals to actually produce the medication. It's not for research only, it's really to produce the medication. Right. Are you allowed to use it as a vegan?
Yeah, I would say as far as practically possible, you can use the medicine, yeah. Because I wouldn't want to make somebody have to choose their life over like another person's life or another animal's life.
Why is your life then more important? Why can you kill the animal for your life? That if considering the species argument.
Because you're going to have certain value levels, right? So just like I think a lot of people would like, let's say you had a family member that was like dying, right? And if you pushed a button, a random person on the planet would like be unalive to save your family member. I feel like a lot of people would push that button. I mean, would you agree?
Well, that's the thing is, if you argue that way, then the species argument doesn't make any sense anymore, because then you're putting yourself above the animal.
Well, right. When it's in a survival situation, so you're basically giving us the desert island scenario, right? So if like there's a pig on the island, like would you unalive them to survive? Yeah. So if you're in a survival situation, you're going to do what you need to do to survive. So I would agree with that. I probably would unalive a human on a desert island to survive if I was like starving to death, and I think a lot of other people would, but that doesn't mean I don't believe in human rights.
So I can kill animals which do not attack me if that saves my life. That's your position, correct?
I would say it's immoral, but it's justifiable because your life is involved in it. So if you want to take the most moral route, I would say, yeah, it's immoral to do it. And then I would say you self-unalive. But I think it's justifiable to do that if your life is on the line.
I think that conflicts with the species argument because you're basically giving you the right to kill the animal for your own life.
Well, I'm telling you, I would say that it is immoral, but it's justifiable. So I agree with you that it's immoral. The most moral action you would take would be to self-unalive.
Okay, we have a surviving action. What if it's not about surviving medication? Medication that is not about life-threatening stuff, but stuff that let's say your bones would deform if you don't take it.
Well, then it would be such a hindrance in my view that
you're laughing. Sorry, the host is laughing. This is a real case scenario. That's medication, right?
Yeah. So again, in my view, which may differ from other vegans, I would say yes. If it's going to hinder your life to a certain degree, yeah, there would be a threshold to where I would say I wouldn't do it, and there'd be a threshold to say where I would do it.
So with I just made an arthritis. It's deforming your bones, and there's medication where you need to kill animals to produce it. Is it okay to take that?
Okay, so you're asking my subjective view. So yeah, it depends on the level of the arthritis. Like if I'm going to have a little bit more pain,
no, sorry. Sorry for interrupting. I don't ask for your subjective view. I'm really asking based on the species argument. Are you allowed to kill the animal so that your bones don't deform?
It's going to depend from vegan to vegan is my point. So some vegans would say,
that's not consistent to me, to be honest.
Well, it's always immoral. Again, it's always immoral. Just like taking someone's life on a desert island would be immoral, but it's justifiable in the situation that you're in.
Okay, anyways, it's going too deep. I get that. But to be honest, if you take that species argument and the logic of that argument, you're not allowed to take it.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you're going to go purely off of what's the most moral, what's the most immoral, then yeah, I would agree with you that you shouldn't.
Based on the logic of the species argument, I would say so. And then I think that's here I see some, this is to me dishonest in this point. I think.
So then what is your argument that it's wrong? Why would you consider it moral to use someone for your benefit?
Say again, sorry.
Why do you think that it's moral to use someone for your benefit?
Well, I don't even say it's necessarily moral. I'm just saying that
we're also saying to use someone without their consent is immoral. But in a life-saving situation like the desert island, a lot of people will break their principles to survive. They'll take the medication to survive, but they won't broadcast it, and they'll keep it to a minimum as much as possible. It's about your own personal principle, not wanting to hurt those animals. If I had to take a life-saving medicine, I'd be hell-bent finding an alternative while I'm taking the medicine. Go ahead, Plants. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say,
now you're bringing a subjective threshold. Sorry.
So a good example of this is I think stealing is always immoral, right? But I think there's justifiable cases where people could steal something, and I would understand why they would do it and make it justifiable, like if they were starving to death or things in that situation. So yeah, I would paint it, if you're going to pick the most moral option, then yeah, I think self-unaliving would be the most moral, but we're talking about justifications.
Mm-hmm. Well, just don't misunderstand me. My point is I find it dishonest because I think every vegan, from my point of view, or most vegans, would go to any pharmacy and take medication that helps them, not even for life-threatening stuff, right? And
I think that's not vegan. If you're taking medicine that isn't for your health, like it's a genuine need, then it's unnecessary, and yeah, that is not vegan.
That's not the use case I'm bringing up here. I really bring.
I wouldn't take flu medicine if it was tested on animals. I would just tough it out. But if it was something that was going to harm me, like let's say I was paralyzed and I needed it to survive or something, then yeah. Or if you're in excruciating pain to where you can't live your life and you have to take animal tested medicine, then yeah, I think it's justifiable.
Yeah, and that to me is not consistent with the species argument because
do you understand veganism as far as practically possible, like within the confines of society?
Yeah, that's one. Don't get me wrong. From the vegan society definition, I agree, but the species argument doesn't fit in here.
It does.
No, it doesn't. It's conflicting.
It does.
With it because,
we're not saying that.
Can I explain
what
why?
What have I said that's conflicting?
I want to say why it's conflicting.
Like Chris,
Can I explain?
So like I could like, let's say I went outside to like run around or something in the grass, right? I could step on like a bunch of bugs, or I can just like sit inside all day and have zero potential of like stepping on a bug. Obviously, I'm gonna like do the choice that I think is like better for my life. And yeah, I mean, some animals are gonna be harmed in that, but it's like as far as practically possible.
Yeah, that's like I can't say the word, but the S dot reductio argument. I agree to that because you couldn't live your life. I get these utilitaristic arguments, but my point is, for medication, you're explicitly exploiting animals. That's what you do. Have you been in a lab where animals are being tested? I've been there multiple times, and I've seen those study designs, and this is exploiting of animals.
Yeah, I agree. That's what we bring up.
And it's happening. I will double check the initial argument, but I think in the most life sciences, it's an agreement that animal testing is part of research and development. And I think
it is unnecessary. It is unnecessary. And all the derivatives, the derivatives that we have, if we stopped animal agriculture, I guarantee those inputs that they use from animals, they would replace with some kind of synthetic alternative.
And Chris, there's vegans that agree with you, right?
What's the full name? Plants and Plates. And I will follow you. I want to double check. I think there was a big article in Nature saying the opposite, and I would really like to find out what's the fact. Can we exchange the papers?
Yeah, the thing is, Chris, too, there's vegans that agree with you that think it's immoral to take and not justifiable to take like life-saving medicine, like they'd rather self-unalive. And if that's the view you want to have, I mean, yeah, go ahead. You know, you're not exploiting animals. Like that's a choice.
That
and if
wasn't
you
my
think it's
position. It's more
moral to do
about I go with the vegan society definition, but I disagree with the species argument here. I think it doesn't fit in. But I don't. I
just want to understand, Chris. I want to understand. Are you trying to say that it is morally justifiable to test on animals, even though we have technology that can do it better?
Well, first of all, I disagree with the premise we have technology. If we have technology that can replace, then no. But I disagree with the premise we have the technology.
Let's assume we don't, right? So, like, let's assume we don't, and the only way we could test medicine is testing on other humans. I think a lot of people would also agree that, like, we're going to have to do this in order to save millions of people's lives.
Forcefully?
Like, we find the least harmful way to do it, but it may be something that has to be done in order to save people's lives. Like, it just comes down to your own, like, moral framework.
Forcefully against the will of the humans that are used to test?
Yeah, it comes down to your moral framework, right? So, like, if you're
it's okay to do to animals.
If you're a staunch deontologist,
I think if you do that, you would be like in German's history again.
Well, let me tell you. So, if you're a staunch deontologist, right, where you think like all rights violations are wrong, you're going to say it's wrong. So, let's say we had a virus and we could test the vaccine on one person, and we could save 30 million people's lives in order to do that. I think a lot of people would say, yeah, that's justified, right? But you would find some people that says, no, we can't do that because it's not humanitarian to test on one person. I understand their logic behind that, but there's a certain threshold of harm that we're going to accept if you're not like a staunch deontologist, that you're going to say like this is okay.
Yeah, this is an extreme case.
So, Chris,
right?
It's about a mindset, okay? It's not a rule. Vegans it's not a religion. We don't have these hard, fast rules, right? It's about that we don't want to support something. So it would be a personal choice of how far that goes. But yeah, I don't disagree with you that it's immoral that we put any animal through any sort of testing or to steal anything from them. I do find that immoral. Would I personally take life-saving medication if it required using someone? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not in survival mode right now. But right now, I would find it immoral.
I don't disagree with the utilitaristic approach of as practical as possible. I disagree with the species argument that's brought up because based on the species argument, you're not allowed to do any testing on animals.
But you say allowed again. There's no hard, fast rules. There's no rules. It's that you're trying to not exploit somebody.
Yeah, again, Chris, it depends on your moral framework, right? Because if you're like a staunch deontologist, then yeah, you wouldn't take the medicine, right? You would self-unalive. But like I'm a threshold deontologist, so I think there's a certain level of utility where I would say harm is justified.
Well,
like let me ask you, like let's say 50 million people are going to be unalived unless we tested a vaccine on one person. Do you think we should do that or no?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Let's say like 50 million people were going to be unalived by a virus unless we test the virus on one human. Do you think we should or no? And the humans going to be unalived in the process.
So you're basically saying you want to force the humans to test it, right?
Yeah, you have to like, let's say somebody's not willing, you have to force them, and they're going to be unalived, but 50 million people are going to die if not.
You know, this is the extreme case. It's like the airplane that's flying into a mass of people, right? Can you shoot the airplane? That's literally the same example.
Yeah, sure. We can use that example.
I don't know. I don't really know what's the ethical better option here, right?
Okay, but at least you know.
My point is. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, at least you know that, yeah, there could be the option where we pull the lever and say, yeah, you know, we can harm this one individual to save all of these other individuals, because like there's a threshold where the benefit outweighs the negative.
Yeah, but I would say that example doesn't fit to what is happening on a daily basis in you know, research and development when medicine is developed.
In my view, if we had a hypothetical, I'll make it the same type of thing. Let's say we have to unalive. We have no choice.
Sorry if I interrupt. Can you bring an example? Because the big difference to me is this is systemic exploitation, right? The examples we brought are moral difficult examples. What's happening on a daily basis to develop drugs is systemic exploitation.
Okay, so yeah, I'm going to bring it down that level. Let's say there's a facility that's testing on rats, right? We have no choice other than to test the medicine on rats, and we have to unalive like 1,000 rats in the process, but it's going to save like 30 million people. Do you think it's okay to do that?
Well, under my framework, yes, it is. I would say if you bring the species argument, it's not.
Well, we agree. Well, it depends if you're a deontologist or not. So I'm a threshold deontologist, so I think there's a threshold of harm that's acceptable if you get like such a massive benefit out of it. So it's really not, this isn't an attack on speciesism, this is an attack on deontology.
So you would bring that same argument if it's not mice, but humans?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to like unalive a certain amount of humans to save like 50 million humans, I probably would do it.
Okay. So basically, okay, I get your point. You're basically arguing either we test it on mice or human. It's literally the same thing then.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That's my point.
Okay, but
whether the species
you would
is
say,
in it or not.
Just then let's think this to an end. You would say.
Well, I don't want to. I really like the conversation that's happening, but I do have to go in like 4 minutes because my man has to do a call for his work.
Then
but I didn't want to interrupt you guys but if you want to go for another like 3 minutes. It's up to you.
Well, my final point here, plans and sorry, I have to look again. What was it? Plans and plays. I think if based on your argument, you have to replace. You could actually argue it's the same moral meaning, or let's say, sorry, language barrier, but it's the same moral impact. If what's happening in the labs today, if you replace the mice with humans, there's no difference then.
Correct, yeah. But the difference is, like, if we did swap the species out, I would put less value on the species than I do on humans. Because I think humans' ability to, like, perceive the world puts them at a higher value than I would say, like, an ant, for instance.
And that's my point. Then higher value, isn't that conflicts to me with the species argument.
No, not necessarily, because like I put higher value on other humans, right, than like my family members than I do like complete strangers, and I think most people would as well. So with speciesism, we're saying like in an equivalent situation, like we would swap the species out and it would make sense, right? But there's a certain amount of threshold that you're going to get from a situation that's going to make it justifiable.
Okay,
so like
anyway, just a final point I think this example does fit because the family members you have a social bonding, while if you take other stranger humans, I think if you take the species argument, you can't put strange people above strange animals.
Well, let me say, like, let's say we had to test on like 1,000 ants. We'll use your example to save like 1 million humans, right? If I swap those 1,000 ants out for 1,000 humans that had like equal intelligence to those ants and like equal amount of sentience, then yeah, I would say it's justifiable as well.
I didn't fully understood it. Sorry, language barrier again. But can we have a follow up?
So like if we were to swap those like ants out that we're going to be harming with like humans that have a like trait equalized intelligence, I would think it's like pretty much equivalent.
I have to honest, I couldn't fully understand it, the wording.
Yeah, let me try to make it.
Okay.
I'll try to make it really
It's
simple.
fine. I don't want to block too much time here now.
Okay.
Or can you write me the example?
Yeah, I can write it to you.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thanks for coming up.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Chris, we actually had a great conversation, so I genuinely do appreciate you coming up. And thanks to Plants and Plates and Lydia, you guys. You're both amazing. So I appreciate everybody coming up today.
Yeah, thanks.
Everyone else, too.
Have a good day.
Sorry. Yeah, you too. All right, guys.